breezy day in Jupiter between a couple of Grapefruit League neighbors. Spring training baseball. The Cardinals and the Marlins at Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium. We are inside of 2 weeks until opening day. And just as these two teams are friendly here in the Grapefruit League, a little bit of friendly here as well. Bally Sports Florida, Paul Severino and Rod Allen. Bally Sports Midwest, Brad Thompson. So does the intensity ratchet up a little bit more this time of spring?
I think so. With a couple of weeks to go in spring, I think most of the regulars are in there for the Marlins today. And I think if you're Skip Schumacher, you want to start to get some of your regulars lots of reps because you want them ready in 2 weeks.
Yeah, Rod, you can taste it right now. This is the time, right? And the Cardinals still have a lot of guys vying for playing time and at-bats. The outfield is still up for grabs, who the starting jobs are. So it's going to be very exciting to see how the next few weeks shake out.
And a couple of starters today as we dive into the pitching matchup here. Two guys that are coming off of maybe some down seasons for one reason or another that are key to their rotations. We'll start with Steven Matz.
Yeah, Steven Matz, the only Cardinal starter that's under contract past this year. Disappointing year for him last year, only 10 starts, but he's been fantastic so far early this spring. A huge key to the success of the Birds this year is Steven Matz.
Yeah, you want to see him healthy if you're a St. Louis Cardinals fan, no question there. And same can be said for the Marlins lefty today, Trevor Rogers, a runner-up to the Rookie of the Year and an All-Star in 2021. 2022, Rod, a little more trouble.
You know, Trevor Rogers will admit to you, last year he was a hot mess. I mean, he just could not do anything right. One of the things that he did not do very well is the fact that he didn't use his fastball. His fastball command wasn't very good last year. You take a look at some of his numbers in 21 and then 22. He just did not have confidence. He has a lot of confidence this year. He's added a new pitch, a two-seam fastball that they really love. So I'm looking forward to watching him this afternoon.
And he's been a lot less erratic so far in the spring. Another tune-up for him today. And when we come back, Rod Allen had a chance to talk with Trevor Rogers in the last few days here in Jupiter. So when we come back, we'll hear that chat next.
It's bow time.
What's that? Back here in Jupiter, beautiful day for baseball at Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium. We talked about it earlier. Trevor Rogers and how he plans to be a bit of a different pitcher here in 2023. He had a chance to talk with Rod Allen.
How do you feel about your fastball going into 2023? Because I believe in 2021 you used that pitch a lot, not so much last year until the end when you were spectacular. What's your game plan this year?
I'm going to go back to what I'm best at.
All-star.
Yeah, exactly. You said it. You said it. Using that more effectively. I think last year kind of didn't have as much trust in it as I did in 21, and kind of, if I got one base hit off of it, I'm like, okay, I need to put that away instead of having the confidence to keep using that pitch.
How many pitches do you throw?
4 now.
What are they?
So I got my.
Show me your. Stand on the rubber here and then show me your grips.
So this is my first pitch. 4-seam fastball, just regular 4-seam, across the seams, just like that. And this is my bread and butter, my split. Gives me really good depth, a lot of ground balls with this pitch, and a lot of swing and miss. I used to do a circle change, and that caused a lot of deception, but not depth that I wanted. So I switched to the split, and it's been really good for me. And then my next one is my slider. It's a new grip that I've been trying out this spring, and it's been a lot better as far as tighter spin and more depth to the pitch. And then my new pitch, my 4th pitch that I started this year, is my 2-seam, my sinker. So I kind of just get right on top of the 2-seam, right in between those seams, and really try to keep my fingers on top of the baseball and release it, and it'll have that depth action to it.
Now, how'd you learn that new pitch?
I really just did some research. I searched some grips on Google, and I'm sure you've heard of this guy named Greg Maddox.
Yes.
He had a pretty good one. So I'm like, how did that guy throw his? So I saw a short little video on how he threw his, and I've been playing with around that.
And Trevor trying to get back to that all-star form. We got the Cardinals and the Marlins. First pitch is next. Baseball here in the Grapefruit League at Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium. So glad that you are with us today. 78 degrees. The wind picked up a little breezy. Nothing uncomfortable about this, though. 78 with a 16-mile-an-hour wind. It is gorgeous. That humidity will get a little higher in the coming months. But Paul Severino, Rod Allen from Bally Sports Florida, and Brad Thompson representing the good folks from Bally Sports Midwest. So there is Oli Marmol, the manager for the St. Louis Cardinals, and the lineup that he's penciling in today. Of course, we'll talk about all these studs and stars. I'm sure Brad will talk a little bit about Jordan Walker and Mason Wynn from us, from the Marlins side, the outsiders of the whole thing. Those two guys certainly gentlemen that we want to sink our teeth into as the day progresses. So that'll be fun to watch, and a good matchup on the mound, too. Two lefties that are going to be key to their rotations, and we start here with Trevor Rogers. Trevor making his 4th start of the spring, and Rod, the good thing is 9 innings, no walks, and 11 strikeouts this spring.
You know, he made the All-Star team just a couple of years ago. He took a step back as a sophomore, but it's not uncommon for guys to do that in the big leagues. But this spring, he has been outstanding. His fastball back up to 97. He's got a nice little slider. He's got that split, and he's also added a 2-seam fastball that he just absolutely loves, which keeps him off the barrel of the right-handed hitters.
As a thing, Brad, obviously as a pitcher, there are some guys, you think of the Verlanders and the Scherzers or the Sandy Alcantaras, that are in spring getting their work in. For other guys, spring results is very important.
For sure it is, especially after a year like Rogers had. You want to go out there, you want to see the results, you want to see them pay dividends. So I'm looking forward to him getting back to work. Again, one of the more electrifying starters in the game 2 years ago.
0-1 to Brendan Donovan. May have broken his bat on a roller towards shortstop. Coming around it is Wendell, dug out over there at first base. And a really nice play by Yuli Gurriel, one of the new faces around the Marlins camp. And another new face who's back after a little stint in the WBC with Team Dominican Republic. Gene Segura over at third. Wendell, Birdie, and Gurriel going third to first with Nick Fortes behind the plate for the Marlins this afternoon. Avi Garcia, Brian Miller, and Jorge Soler in the outfield. Broken bat once again. This time Birdie at second base. And Dylan Carlson retired on 1 pitch.
Rod, I know you talked about fastball command being a big key for Rogers. So far, so good.
Absolutely. He's got a lot of confidence in spring training. First of all, he looks like he's in outstanding shape. And we talked about in the open last year, Trevor, he was just a hot mess. And he will admit that, too. He hit rock bottom last year, but he got back to the drawing board in the offseason. He has a lot of confidence right now. And at the big league level, as you know, Brad, that's what you have to do to be successful as a pitcher.
First pitch to Jordan Walker. Blazing fastball, and it's 0-1. So this is one of those guys, Brad, we talked about. You guys in Birdland know an awful lot about him, but he is one of the top prospects in all of minor league baseball.
He's a special talent, 6'6". He has power to all fields. He's got a rocket for an arm. Originally drafted as a third baseman, the Cardinals have that covered with Nolan Arenado, so out in the outfield now. But he has done everything that you could possibly do in this camp as a 20-year-old to push the envelope and push to be on this roster on opening day.
He's what the scouts say they look like. 6'6", 230, power, speed. He probably is the best offensive prospect in all of baseball right now for me. Nobody else can do the things this young man can do.
Two of my favorite baseball phrases to the layperson mean absolutely nothing. To a baseball fan, mean everything. He's what they look like, and he's a ball player. Love it. Yeah, of course he's a ball player. Misses outside, and it's a full count.
Yeah, he's a ball player, but is he a dude? This guy's a dude, right?
Yeah, he's a dude. He's a dude.
The 2023 vernacular, of course.
That's one of Skip Schumacher's favorite words.
3 balls, 2 strikes to Walker. That one fouled straight back to the netting.
That pitch is going to be key for Trevor again this season, especially against the right-handed batters. Right-handers hit .299 against him last year. He had his way against left-handers, but he lost his way with his fastball. No confidence in that pitch. He's rediscovered that confidence, and we just saw that on that pitch up there to Walker. Fastball up in the strike zone at about 96.
Tap foul after a request for time. We've seen that a couple of different times throughout at bats, whether it's at the beginning so a hitter can settle in, or sometimes with 2 strikes. Of course, one of the many new rules this year that Skip Schumacher will have to deal with as his first-year managerial duties begin in earnest in just a couple of weeks. The 1 timeout per plate appearance for the batter.
Well, Marlins fans, I mean, you guys are in for a good one with your manager. Skip Schumacher, one of my favorite teammates I've ever had, a guy that played anywhere you wanted him to. I know you guys have a few guys in position battles, playing out of position. Attention to detail means the world to Skip.
And a called strike 3 there to Walker. And the inning is over. Crisp first for Trevor. And we'll meet Steven Matz next.
At Domino's, we are obsessed with delivery.
Steven Matz getting loose for today's start, his second start of the spring, third game. The numbers from last year, Brad, and he hopes to be healthy and in there an awful lot more this year.
That's the biggest key with any pitcher, obviously. But Steven Matz signed that 4-year deal last year, only limited to 15 games, 10 starts, and he's got something that this pitching staff needs a lot of. It's swing and miss. Hopefully see some of that today.
And interestingly enough, that's one thing that the Marlins have tried to eliminate in 2023, and part of that plan is the man in the box right here, the birthday boy, Gene Segura, back from Team DR, the World Baseball Classic. Gurriel Soler, and then Cooper Avi, Wendell Birdie, Fortes, and Brian Miller to round out the order. 1 ball and 1 strike to Segura, who Rod only had a couple of at-bats in the WBC.
It's good for him to be back. I was talking to Jody Reed, the third base coach, and he also handles the infielders. He said all the guys that went to the WBC, he wanted to get Segura back so they could work at third base. Of course, we know he can hit. Tremendous bat-to-ball skills for Segura. He's always had that, and he's a winner. He played in the World Series last year for the first time in his career.
3 balls and 1 strike. Matz deals, and a bouncer right back to him. Underhand flip to first base. There is 1 away.
Well, the Cardinals defensively behind Steven Matz. Jordan Walker, he's out in the outfield. Oscar Mercado, he's back from the World Baseball Classic. Dylan Carlson's getting the start in right. In the infield, you got Nolan Gorman playing his natural position. Mason Wynn keeps getting reps. Donovan, Yepes, and Kisner doing the catching.
Yuli Gurriel hit by a pitch in the first offering from Matz. Sitting that front left leg. Certainly hope that it got more of that guard than anything else.
That's a good thing. Gurriel just signed last week by the Marlins. He's a veteran. He's a guy that's done a lot. He's done a lot of winning, too. A couple of world championships with the Houston Astros.
Right, that's important, isn't it? Bringing guys in that have won and have done so at the highest level.
And not only guys like that, but they can handle the bat. I mean, Gurriel can handle the bat. Arise can handle the bat. Yeah. Segura can handle the bat. And even if they're not getting hits, Brad, they wear you down. They wear you down. So you pitch 17, 18 pitches in an inning, and pitchers will make mistakes after that sometimes.
Pitch to Soler in there for a called strike. So Soler is one of those guys that the Marlins hope is A, healthy, and B, more productive than he was last season, and maybe even C, more consistent when he is in there. Back to Matz. Little bobble. Thought about it. He'll take the out at second, and they turn the double play.
What a slow developing double play.
A little hesitation, but a double play to end the first.
What will you do? Will you make something better? Create something new?
Join us on Saturday, April 1st, when 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will take home a mystery pitching bobblehead showcasing either Yadier Molina, Albert Pujols, courtesy of Central Bank. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
Back here for the top of the second inning. Bally Sports Florida and Bally Sports Midwest bringing you the action today from Jupiter. Trevor Rogers goes to work against Contreras, Wilson Contreras.
Does anybody have any bigger shoes to fill in baseball this year than Contreras? Anybody?
It's pretty tough, isn't it? I mean, you got a guy that was here for nearly 2 decades in Yadier Molina, one of the best to ever do it. And you have to replace that guy somehow, some way. Cardinals did it via free agency, signed Contreras to a 5-year deal. But I love the way that Contreras did it. He said, I can't try to be Yadi. He talked about the reverence that he has for him. But the Cardinals signed Contreras. They signed him for what he can do. And it's going to be a stark difference for Cardinal fans what he could do with the bat. I mean, this is a real threat that you add to a lineup that already has Arenado and Goldschmidt.
He can throw, too.
Yes, he can. He showed that off yesterday.
And you wonder with the new rules how much that arm is going to come into play.
I think it's going to come into play because he's one of those guys that likes to pick the first base. I mean, as a matter of fact, no one has picked as much as he has the last number of years. So if you're on first base and he happens to be behind the plate, if you're the base runner, you better be alert that he will throw behind you. And I think that's going to he's going to help slow down the running game.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of it already. And I do think, to your point, Rod, that's something we're going to see a lot more in the game of baseball. Pitchers are limited to their disengagements, their pickoffs. The catcher's not.
I talked to our catcher, Jacob Stallings. He said he was going to do more of it.
Base hit up the middle for Contreras. And that's how the top of the second inning begins.
Well, Toyota, key to the game for the Cardinals, create distance. There's a bunch of competition going on right now. Nolan Gorman, the guy up to bat's a guy that's trying to do it. Create distance here with a good day.
And for the Marlins, get Gene Segura up to speed. Of course, he was with the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic. Didn't get many at-bats, didn't get many reps at third, so they got to get him caught up to get him ready.
In the dirt, skips away from Fortes, and Contreras will move up 90 feet into scoring position on ball one to Nolan Gorman. Yeah, you brought up the World Baseball Classic with Segura. Of course, the Cardinals are without others, but specifically they're two big cornerstones, pun intended, I suppose, in Arenado and Goldschmidt. They're two corner infielders. It's great to see those guys on a different world stage here, but as managers, whether it be Marmol or Schumacher, gear up for a regular season, that marathon, I'm sure part of them is A, hoping to get through it healthy, and B, hopefully they got enough at bats to come back and be productive.
For sure. The thing you know about those two guys specifically, though, is you know they're taking their reps seriously. They're getting their work in. They're doing what they can. So when they do come back, it will be seamless for Goldie and Arenado.
And those two guys are playing every day, too.
Yep.
And they're not sitting on the bench.
And something tells me they could roll out of bed on December 20th and probably go 2 for 3 if they had a pickup game somewhere.
That's right.
They're talented, that's for sure. And Goldschmidt talked about it. I mean, he addressed the team, Team USA, day one, to say, hey, guys, this isn't vacation. Like, if we want to win it, we got to put everything into it. I think it's important to have that kind of leadership on that team as well.
Very important for the Cardinals in a year where Pujols left, in a year where Yachty left. Now they got a couple of guys in Arenado and also Goldschmidt to really just take over. I mean, their leadership skills are off the chain, and they'll be natural for them.
That's what Goldie and Arenado are doing in the World Baseball Classic. Everything shifting to Miami now. Obviously, all 3 rounds being played in South Florida. Great atmospheres, no question about it. Certainly at the ballpark, too. It's been like a who's who. We just saw the Oscars with all the stars showing up at the Oscars. That's kind of what it feels like at Lone Depot Park.
Here's where that new two-seam fastball that Trevor Rogers is in love with, and Jacob Stallings, Marlins starting catcher, told me he loves it as well. Here's where you want to throw that two-seamer. Hope you get Yepes to hit the ball on the ground and you can get the double play ball. But this is where the two-seamer works well against a right-handed batter.
Had a couple of ground balls in that first inning along with a strikeout. Would love one here. That one taken for ball 2 to Yepes.
Rod, I think that pitch right there, though, that fastball that he rides in on the right-hander, that's going to be the key to opening up that sinker. If you prove that you can throw that and the right-hander can't just lean over the plate waiting for that sinker, that's a nice recipe.
Yeah, you get him looking inside, then you can get down and away from him as they pull that front shoulder off.
That is a half of the plate, Brad, that for decades, maybe centuries, has been the key to pitching. That inside part of the plate, not being afraid to go there.
There are some guys that simply can't do it, too. And hitters know it. Rod, you know, you will take that away. If you don't believe a guy can get in there, you can take advantage. And so look over the plate.
And so many pitchers are just reluctant to go in there. They've been taught for so many years to go down and away, down and away, down and away. When you find a guy that's not afraid to go inside, I'll tell you a guy that's having a lot of success because he's pretty much commanding the whole plate.
2 balls in, a strike to Yepes. Another one that's inside part of the plate, but a little too far in.
To your point, Rod, it's kind of that was the old college mantra for a long time, especially as the bats were juiced for a while. Say, hey, you better stay away and it better be soft.
Yeah.
Rogers ready with a 3-1 pitch that is pop foul and out of play.
Talk about that leadership that the Cardinals, you know, you lose when Albert walks out the door, when Yachty walks out the door. The guy at the plate right now, Juan Yepes, he soaked up every second of Albert Pujols being around. I mean, if Albert was sitting on the bench, he had Juan sitting right next to him. Those two became very, very close and just learned a lot of lessons of how to go about it from Albert Pujols.
Skip Schumacher said he did as much as well. He said he went down to Lone Depot Park where the WBC is going on right now to visit with Yachty. Molina. He's managing the Puerto Rican team, and they just chopped it up and had a real nice team. And then he went on to say that Yadi Molina is the most talented, gifted, smartest player he's ever been around. Been around. And I said, smarter than Tony La Russa? And he said, yes.
That's saying something.
Did he say to not use that on air? No, but it really is. And, you know, Tony talked about him that way, as has Matheny, Schilt, and Ollie Marmol. He's another manager on the field. This is a guy that the wheels are already turning. There was no shock to see him as soon as he was done. He basically went straight to Venezuela to manage a team. Now he's managing, you know, a team, Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic. He's perfect for it. And a guy like Skip Schumacher, he's a student of the game. He's going to pick Yadi's brain, too.
I was talking to Garrett Cooper before the game today. He's the DH today, and he plays first base, of course, for the Marlins. He was talking about Yadi Molina. He said he's so smart that they pitched you one way in spring training, and then when the season started, they flipped the entire script. And he also said that Molina's one of those guys that you take one swing, and he knows exactly what you're trying to do at the plate.
That's a nice weapon to have.
Isn't it, though?
And to your earlier point about Contreras, those are big shoes to fill when you're trying to do some of the things that he was able to do.
Well, trouble here in the second inning for Rogers. Andrew Kisner at the plate. His numbers this spring, but here batting with the bases loaded and nobody out after a meeting on the mound. And that one misses outside. So we came on the air, Rod, talking about how efficient and in the zone Trevor has been. And we've already seen now back-to-back walks, a little more erratic and some trouble in the second inning.
Yeah, the first 2 walks of the spring for Trevor. But again, he has that real nice fastball. He has a real nice breaking ball, good two-seamer, and that split-fingered pitch as well that he features. He has enough stuff to get out of this jam, but first and foremost, he needs to roll that ground ball, which will aid him in the getting out of this jam. And so many times, Brad, and I'm sure you can speak to this, when the bases are loaded and there's nobody out and that pitching coach comes out and he visits, which he pretty much tells you, that guy on third base is going to score. Think that he's going to score, but the rest of these guys you can control. He might score, but everybody else you can pretty much control the rest of this inning.
You're not trying to strike out the side here. You just go full-on attack mode. To your point, get that ground ball.
Well, that might help, too. Pop up on the infield fly rule in effect, so they'll get that out. And now, if he could get a double play ball, it really gets him out of trouble. Maybe that guy at third doesn't score.
Right.
But, Brad, here's the thing about the spring, right? You think, oh, I got to go out there. I'm going to throw my 3 innings, my 4 innings, my 5 innings. Perfect innings. That's what I want. In and out. No. Guys actually want a little bit of a struggle, don't they?
Well, you don't necessarily want it coming into it, but you do need it.
Yeah.
You really do. You need some high leverage in spring training. You're used to pitching in front of thousands and thousands of people. Sometimes you have to get into a jam to know how to get out of it, especially after the year that Rogers had last year and all the things that he's had to work through. He needs to prove to himself that he can do it again.
You know, even though he's a veteran, he's been out there a couple of years. He made an all-star team, but he took a step back last year. So he wanted to come back in the spring training and prove that he was a pitcher that he was in 2021, not 2022. Ooh, that's nasty, whatever that was.
They got Mercado to chase. Now 23 pitches this inning for Rogers. And one thing that we've seen, more anecdotal than anything else, I feel like we've seen a lot this spring, more so than others. Guys will get into jams. They'll throw 25, 30 pitches. They'll come out. And then the next half inning, they're back out there again.
Cardinals did it yesterday with Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty found himself in a jam. They wanted to continue to get his pitch count up, wanted him to pitch into the 5th inning. Bases loaded. He came back out the next half.
There is action in the Marlins bullpen right now. Rogers trying to work around the trouble here. After a 1-2-3 first inning, a single and 2 walks before the infield fly. Now it's ball and 2 strikes here on Mercado. That one missed just a little bit low.
I like that pitch. I like the location of it. I like the two-seam action on it. He's trying to get that ground ball.
I think there's a lot of deception with that changeup of his.
Got a piece of Mercado, so the 2 walks and then the hit by pitch drive in a run. And the Cardinals have a 1-0 lead. And it looks like Skip Schumacher will go to the bullpen. The question that'll be asked maybe in 15 minutes or so is Trevor's day done? Will he come back out for the 3rd? We'll see.
I think he will.
But at least for this second inning, he's done. So Marlins go to the pen. Cardinals still have him loaded up 1-0.
What if this happened?
Marlins go to the pen. Enrique Burgos. That's his big league numbers. The first one called upon this afternoon for the Marlins. Again, we'll see if Trevor Rogers comes back. Again, trying to get that pitch count up and the up downs, as they say, as he gears up about 2 weeks away from the beginning of the regular season. Mason Wynn, a swing and a miss. So Mason Wynn, one of those guys that, Brad, I know Rod and I see him from a distance, but boy, what a special talent he is.
He's just electric in everything that he does. He's got a rocket for an arm over at shortstop. Saw him at the Futures game throw one across the diamond at 100.5 miles per hour. We've seen him at 99 in spring. But the question has been, since he got drafted, can he hit professional pitching? He's answered that every single step, and he's doing it again here in camp and showing power even the other way.
1-1 strike from Burgos. So with all that being said, still decisions to be made, but where do we think that Wynn would start the regular season?
Yeah, but Mason Wynn's a young player who has to play, and Tommy Edman is the shortstop right now. Donovan/Gorman will be playing second base, so you'd believe, barring something crazy, that he'll start in the minor leagues. Spent time at AA last year. Maybe goes back there. Maybe he starts at AAA. Either way, Mason Wynn has expedited his time to the big leagues. With the camp that he had, the impression that he's made on Ollie Marmol and the staff, I mean, he has just checked every single box.
Ball and 2 strikes, so 1-0 Cardinals lead after the bases loaded hit by pitch. And Burgos brings it home. This one out toward left center field. Avi chasing after it, won't get there. It's down into the gap, and it's going to roll to the wall, and it is going to clear the bases. Wynn on his way to third base with a stand-up triple. Ball gets away, but he'll stay put at third. Cardinals with a 4-0 lead.
Well, there goes Mason Wynn checking another box for you right there. Opportunity in a spot. Got a slider that hung right down the middle. Drives it in the gap, and then he's off to the races. Talked about his arm. Talked about the power. Forgot to talk about the speed. He's got plenty of that as well. Good spot.
As you mentioned, breaking ball up in the strike zone and didn't get to the area Burgos wanted it to get to. And with 2 strikes, a nice piece of hitting by the very talented youngster, Mason Wynn. And you're right. He is fun to watch. I watched him run around the bases. He looked like he was running rather easily. He's got elite speed, they say.
He does for sure. And he carries himself like he's been in the big leagues for a while, and I mean that with respect. He's just so confident.
Marlins bring the infield in. Brendan Donovan, the leadoff hitter for the Cardinals, takes ball 2. Well, we talked earlier in this inning about limiting the damage and thinking, all right, maybe that run's going to score anyway. Keep it at the 1, but now a crooked number here, Rod, as the Marlins find themselves down 4-0.
Yeah, big crooked number. And Burgos has 3 pitches, fastball, slider, and he also has a splitter. He'll show you that splitter when he's in his windup and his stretch. A lot of pitchers that throw split-fingered fastballs will hold it while they're on the mound so they don't have to reach in their glove to find that grip.
Last pitched in the big leagues in 2016 with the Diamondbacks. A 2-1 to Donovan. Missed low and away. Donovan, the distinction of having won the first utility Gold Glove. They gave that out for the first time last year. Played all over the place.
6 positions.
Yeah.
He plays them all well. Like, that's the fun part about watching him. We saw him at shortstop yesterday, and he's picking it. You know how the ball finds you, right? He's out there. He's making plays, ranging to the left, to the right. Just well, I'll use the term again. He's a ball player. Paul. Like, this is a guy, you like a team. 26 Donovans, you're going to be in good shape.
6 positions. He was cleaning cleats. He was doing the laundry. He was doing it all.
Anything to stay in the big leagues, partner.
That's true.
He's also, as many years as the Cardinals have been playing, he's the first rookie to ever win a Gold Glove.
Pretty amazing, too, with an organization that's won a league-leading 99 Gold Gloves. That ends up being the first rookie to do so.
Right.
Yeah, defense has been the calling card for St. Louis for years.
I've been watching this Cardinals team a bunch this spring, man, and Ollie Marmol, he has these guys tuned in, man. They're not giving away at bats. I mean, they're not playing like the regular season, but they are developing some really good habits that will bode well for them in a couple of weeks.
Something that's really stood out to me this year, even against a pitcher that is erratic, they're still ready for the strike. They don't just get falling into that lull. This is the big key here for Dylan Carlson. Dylan's trying to answer the question, is he an everyday player or is he a platoon player? He had his struggles from this side of the plate against right-handed pitching, and Ollie and the staff have really liked what they've seen so far this camp. He's hitting the ball with authority from this side. The swing looks quicker.
First and third, 1-0 with 4 runs home for St. Louis. That one's in there for a strike. Yeah, if defense has been a calling card for the Cardinals, depth has been a calling card for them too. It seems that we were talking about this earlier, Brad, is that either somebody gets hurt or whatever the case might be, there's always somebody else to come up who you never seem to skip a beat with, whoever that is.
All of a sudden, you've got the opposition saying, who's this freaking Lars Nootbaar? What is this guy doing? And all of a sudden, you know, he's an international star now playing for Team Japan. But you're right. And again, they've done a very good job of drafting and developing. And they have guys ready when there will be that opportunity there.
Ground ball up the middle. There's a base hit. Another run is in. Donovan on his way to third. He'll get there. Carlson an RBI single, and the Cardinals add on. It's now 5-0.
It's a pitch right there, too. It was a four-seam fastball. It was off the plate away, but Dylan goes out there, reaches it, and finds himself a wide-open right side there as defense allowed it. And I think that's been one of the more interesting things this spring that we've seen with the limited shifts of balls sneaking through. We're going to see more offense be created because of that.
Yeah, I like the base running there of Donovan, too. He didn't look over to third base to get any help from the third base coach. He knew where that ball was, and he knew he can get to third base by watching exactly where that ball was going to center field.
Well, he's a ball player. We covered that.
Yes, we did.
Now Jordan Walker. And the count of ball and no strikes. A strikeout his first time. That was against Trevor Rogers, who started this inning. But it was a hit, a couple of walks, then the infield fly, which had the bases loaded, 1 out, and thought from a Marlins perspective, well, maybe he can get out of this with a ground ball. Instead, the Cardinals have turned it into a 5 spot, still threatening and still only the 1 out here in inning number 2.
And Jordan Walker, with everything that he's done so far this camp, he's hitting for power, he's using the speed, he's doing everything. He doesn't take an at-bat off, and he can't. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's trying to force his way onto this roster. But you'll notice even on a little ground ball, he's legging it out. And he's got elite speed as well. For all the power numbers, he stole 22 bags last year at Double-A.
And you'd have to imagine that with the bigger bases in the major leagues now, once he gets to the movies and plays here every day, he's probably going to steal 20, probably be a 30-30 guy when it's all said and done.
Three and 0. Missed, and the bases are loaded yet again.
And Marlins are going to have to get someone else up in their bullpen. Burgos is struggling out there.
Nick Fortes out to talk with Burgos, and Mel Stottlemyre Jr. out from the dugout. So Donovan over there at third base. Carlson, who had the RBI single, up at second. And Walker at first base with Wilson Contreras, who led off this inning with a base hit and scored a run.
Well, the Cardinals just trying to keep taking good at-bats. It's always tough being on the flip side of it. As you know, Marlins, you're trying to get through this inning. You're trying to get back in there and get back to hitting, but you like never taking any breathing room. If you're Contreras right now, opening day's 2 weeks away, this is a big at-bat for you too.
He loves to hit anyway.
That's a fact.
So he's not giving away any at-bats. I also like the fact that he didn't go to the World Baseball Classic, Contreras. He wanted to go
tough decision
play.
for him.
Very difficult decision, and not only for him, but for the entire country. And he said, you know what, my job is to get here and to learn these pitchers, to learn this organization, because they gave me 5 years and a lot of money to come here to be the starting catcher. And he felt like going to the WBC would take away from his learning time.
Burgos deals. Check down at first, no swing, a ball at no strikes.
appears that every single hitter in this particular inning, whether it be Rogers or now Burgos, they have fallen behind a lot of guys, and that's not the way you pitch up here.
No, we hear Mel, and I'm sure pitching coaches around baseball talk about it all the time. Strike one. I'm sure, Brad, you had that beaten into your brain, right?
Oh, yeah.
Strike one is important.
The numbers bear it out. I mean, the averages, the slugging, when you're falling behind, hitters are able to keyhole you a little bit more. And this is one of the more interesting things, I think, that with the pitch clock, you don't have time to slow yourself down as a pitcher. When things are snowballing, it happens quickly.
You know, for so many years, Paul, one of the terms that we have used is he really knows how to slow the game down. In pressure situations, slow the game down. Now you got to speed up.
Yeah.
Everything's fast
Slow it
now.
down mentally. If you could do it within 15 seconds with the bases loaded in a tie game, that would be awesome.
Speed up.
And Contreras left center field. That is going to hit off the base of the wall. 2 runs are home. Here comes Walker around third. Relay throw is off the mark. Contreras heads to third base, and the second bases clearing extra base hit of this inning. Cardinals have an 8-0 lead.
It's another one of those sliders from Burgos right there that you guys were just talking about. Not able to put it exactly where he wants to. This one up in the zone. Really strong swing from Contreras. Rod, you say he loves to hit. Looked like it there. Ready for that pitch. Drives it in the gap.
Tremendous balance throughout the swing as well. He short hopped the gate in left center field. Got over to third base on probably will be a throwing error by the shortstop, Joey Wendell.
Eight nothing as Nolan Gorman gets his second plate appearance of this inning. Fouls it back. He had walked and scored earlier.
Well, Gorman's another guy. He got his first taste of the big leagues last year. Highly touted prospect, and he has something that the Cardinals could use. It's big time power from the left side. Needed to make some adjustments, though. He had a big hole in his swing. Anything up, fastballs up, he couldn't get to. He's really leveled out.
And position-wise, how is he going to slot into things?
Position-wise, he's going to be in the mix at second base. He's a natural third baseman. That's where he's playing right now, and he's got some reps there with Nolan Arenado being out at the World Baseball Classic. But he'll be in and out of second base, and you'll also see him in that DH mix.
Now 50-plus pitches this inning for Marlins pitchers.
Well, if I'm Burgos here, you've already hung a couple of sliders. It seems to be the pitch that he feels confident in and his go-to. You better be very careful with Gorman. Hits sliders, hits changeups well. If you're going to throw it, it better be back foot.
Through the right side, a base hit to score Contreras. And the Cardinals with a 9-0 lead.
But didn't crush it, didn't have to right here. It was that slider again. It was away, and a good look at what we were just talking about with the shifts back in the day. He's a guy that you would shift a lot on. You'd stack up that right side. That one sneaks through.
Yeah, that would be an out. Someone would be playing in short right field, and someone would gobble that up and throw him out at first base, but not this year.
It's a new day. 9 runs, just 5 hits for St. Louis. A weird line score here in the second inning, as Juan Yepez takes one inside. More action in the Marlins bullpen as Yepez walked and scored earlier in this frame.
This is one of those innings, guys, where you're happy to be playing at home if you're the Marlins, because you can make a call back to the backfield.
Right.
Like, hey, you know what? Give me a couple of guys.
Might need him today.
Yeah, might need a pitcher or two.
Yepez lifts one to center. And that's the second out of this inning.
Here's where you really have to fight defensively as well, because you've been out there for about 20 minutes. There's been a lot of pitches thrown. And even though these guys are big leaguers, sometimes you just get on your heels. And you can't allow that to happen. You got to stay on your balls and your feet. You got to stay ready for that next ground ball that could possibly come your way.
Andrew Kisner had the infield fly rule pop up to the right side for out number 1 here in the second.
He wouldn't make 2 outs in an inning, would he?
Well, I hope not. The way the camp is going for him, though, I mean, it has been a struggle offensively for Kisner, and it was kind of it felt like news a week or so ago. Ollie Marmol talked about that backup catcher spot. That's up for grabs. That's a competition. So another big spot for Kiz here.
To third, Gene Segura. And the inning finally comes to a close, but the Cardinals open it up. A couple of big bases clearing extra base hits. They lead at 9-0.
Together or separate?
Paul Severino, Rod Allen from the Valley Sports Florida side of things, along with Brad Thompson representing Valley Sports Midwest. Glad that you're with us today. These two teams sharing a complex here in Jupiter and now sharing the airwaves today. Always fun to do this a couple of times. I think Chip Carey, the great Chip Carey, will be doing what I'm doing, only better, next week with Rod and I believe Jim Edmonds, right, on Wednesday.
Absolutely. You guys going to have some fun.
Yes, indeed. It's always fun. Brad, question for you. After a lengthy sit down by Mats, how do you come out there after being so sharp in the first inning after sitting down so long?
It really is difficult. You love it when your team's scoring for you.
Garrett Cooper, base hit. Sneaks through the right side.
Yeah, you love it when they score for it, but you have to figure out different ways in there to keep the arm moving, keep moving around it. And for him, he's a veteran guy. He's been there and done that before, but it is difficult to hone right back in.
Does he have to go down underneath and throw or anything like that?
No, generally not. You're already warmed up enough, and you just really focus on your warm-up pitches that you take in that inning, a little bit more concentration on each one of those.
Take those 9 runs all day, though, right?
That's a fact.
Even in the spring.
Got time to ease back into it, I guess, after that.
Are pitchers more prone to work on certain things in this particular situation with a huge lead?
I think that a veteran guy, and he's working on that sinker right there, get one right back, get his double play ball. That's a good way to ease back into it.
Yeah.
But a guy like Steven Matz and veteran pitchers in general, this can be a big trying ground for a lot of different pitches. You got something you want to work on. You were talking about it and had that great breakdown with Trevor Rogers of the different things that he's trying to work on in spring. I think it's a great time to just hone different things. But when you have that 9-run lead, if you've been thinking about trying something crazy, well, that would be a good time to do it.
Already the second double play that he's turned. He's been a part of both of the double plays. In fact, Matt's fielding his position as he misses for ball 1 to Joey Wendell. That's all those years with the Mets before a year with the Blue Jays, and this is second year with the St. Louis Cardinals.
It's an uncomfortable at bat right there too. That's 95 running in on the hands. Matt's not your traditional sinker baller. Everything up in the zone, but he still gets all these ground balls. Usually the sinker guy, he's down in the zone. You see it a lot. Just a different look for him.
Wendell gets the start at shortstop.
It's a lot like Marlins ace, Sandy Alcantara. I mean, you would think throwing 100 miles an hour, he would rack up tons of strikeouts, but that's not the case. He rolls a lot of ground balls.
Well, I think a lot of that for Sandy too, it's by design. He wants to be out there in the 7th, in the 8th, in the 9th inning. He wants to be shaking hands, and he's got the stuff to rack up the strikeouts. He proved that also throughout the year. But if you're doing that, the pitch count gets high and you're not able to go deeper into games.
Wendell pops this one up behind home plate. And a sneak out of play.
With that being said, this year too, guys, for the Marlins defensively, I know some guys playing different positions. Segura over at third. You got a Rise at second. Jazz Chisholm playing some center field now. How do you think that shakes out?
I think it's still work in progress, and Skip Schumacher will say as much. I mean, Jazz has not perfected center field as of yet. It's still going to be interesting to see how many games Wendell plays at his particular position, and Segura as well. So I think the more reps they get, the more comfortable they will be, but they still have some work to do.
To third base. Thanks to the double play, Mats faces 3 Marlins in the second. Cardinals in control here in Jupiter.
This puts the surf in surf.
A 9-0 Cardinals lead, top of the third, and guess who's back? That is Trevor Rogers. Kind of as we expected would be the case. Had a high pitch count in that second inning, and then just so that he's not out there throwing 40-50 pitches, and this isn't August where okay, just wear one today. He's got to get his work in, get that pitch count up, get those up downs. Brad, it's important, so that's why he's back out there, even though he's been lifted. And this one lifted out towards center field. A little pause, stutter step, and that's Jazz out there in center field. Oscar Mercado on his way to third, and he'll get there. So Jazz did not start the game in center field, but just put out there in center field to start this third inning.
Jazz did what he needed to do at the beginning of that play. When the ball's hit to you in center field, sometimes you don't know whether it's going to carry over your head or it's going to sink at your feet. He paused momentarily, but he waited too long before he picked the ball up, and then that ball got over his head off the gate, and by the time he picked it up, base runner on third base. But as I was just saying, last half inning, Jazz is still working on how to be very productive in center field. It's going to be work in progress.
Well, reps, that's where you want to have that mistake, is here in spring training. You know, in Jupiter, the winds, the outfield's big. That's where you want to have it happen. And that's where the reps, as you know, Rod, the reps during BP, live reads off the bat, they're incredibly important. Like, I know a lot of times for a veteran outfielder, it's like, let me go through the motions here. For Jazz Chisholm, like every single time he's in the outfield and somebody's swinging a bat, he needs to be taking those reads.
And I think he is. He's such a gifted athlete. I think he's going to be just fine in center field, but it just takes a lot of reps. And when you've been an infielder your entire life and all of a sudden you're playing outfield now, it takes time.
And now Mason Wynn out toward left center field. Nobody's going to get to that one. It one hops up and over the wall. And scores Mercado, who was at third with the triple.
These Cardinals got their hitting shoes on today. And as good as Trevor Rogers has been all spring training, he's leaving lots of balls up in the strike zone today, and these Cardinals have kind of had their way.
Yeah, Mason Wynn must have heard me talk about the fact that he's probably going to start the season in the minors. Say, hold on, there's still 2 weeks left here. I can make an impression here. And really, that ball, he doesn't bury it exactly like he wants it to, but Mason had to go down and get this thing, just kind of showing off that athleticism and the approach that he has.
He's having a lot of fun. And it's always nice to have young players in spring training like Walker and Wynn. They energize the rest of the guys.
Line off the glove of John Birdie and into right field. So Donovan with a base hit. Wynn moves to third, and the Cardinals with a run already in business again with runners on the corners and nobody out.
Well, Rod, right now, Trevor Rogers not fooling anybody with anything. It was the breaking ball that Mason Wynn hit. This time it was the fastball that Brendan Donovan was ready for. He was on time with.
And it also looked like he went down to a low three-quarter arm slot trying to deceive Donovan by throwing that two-seamer, but he was waiting for it. It was right over the heart of the plate, and Donovan ripped it to the pull field.
Now Dylan Carlson takes a strike.
Is that something we'll see throughout the season, that Rogers does change that arm angle a little bit?
I think he'll do that to lefties more so than he will do to the right-handers. But with that new two-seam fastball, he might try to turn it over to some righties as well. I think his biggest asset, though, is his four-seam fastball. If he gets back to his four-seam fastball, I think all his other stuff plays very well.
Honestly, after watching the first inning, I'm shocked at the results of this. He looked so dialed in early.
Looked like that two-seamer right there at 92 miles an hour.
Two balls in a strike to Carlson. And a lot of times with young pitchers, and Rogers, even though he has been an all-star and finished second in the Rookie of the Year voting a couple of years ago, still a young pitcher, it's important to figure out a way to stop the bleeding, right? I mean, they scored 9 runs. They weren't all against him, but figure out ways to, all right, it's not a great inning, but it's only 2 runs as Carlson swings and misses. And that was always seemed to be a case, and really still is, with Sandy Alcantara. Sandy can look like, doesn't happen often, right? But it looks like, this could get away from him. But the damage gets limited to 1 or 2 runs, maybe 3 in a really bad inning for him. And then that's kind of it for the day. But sometimes with Trevor, that snowball gets rolling. It's hard to stop.
It's easy to pitch with your best stuff. You find out who you truly are when you have to battle.
That last breaking ball that he got Carlson out with, probably his best breaking ball of the afternoon. Continues to try to work big Jordan Walker inside. Don't make a mistake over the heart of the dish.
Off the end of the bat to first base. Gurriel goes to second. On to first, and the Marlins turn a double play. We've seen 3 twin killings already. That one gets Rogers out of further damage, but the Cards get another.
C-Max presents
250+ spring training games in every out-of-market game, live or on demand. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details.
Beautiful day for baseball here in Jupiter. Steven Matz and the Cardinals with a 10-0 lead on the Marlins here on Bally Sports Florida and Bally Sports Midwest. John Birdie swinging at the first pitch, drops one into right field, and a sliding attempt out there in right field, but it's in there for a base hit. Carlson was closing on it, but just out of his reach, and Birdie is aboard.
And nice job by John Birdie putting the ball in play. Of course, he has tremendous speed. He led the majors in stolen bases last year with 41, and it's not a far-gone conclusion to say that he won't run here, even though they're down by 10 runs. Spring training is still meant for guys to work on their part of the game.
This is Santiago Chavez hitting for Nick Fortes. Fortes was the starter, but was lifted for defense last half inning. So Chavez gets the first at bat. Limited action so far. I'll open this up to you guys. So last year you said Birdie had 41 steals.
Right.
Okay, so now we've got the bigger bases and the disengagement limitations and all that kind of stuff. Rod, I'll start with you. What's the number that leads Major League Baseball in stolen bases this year? Last year was 41.
I think the number that's going to lead stolen bases this year is going to be in the 65 to 70 range. Outstanding base running there by John Birdie. Ball hit on the line. You don't have time to freeze. You have to get back. But so many times in so many years as base runners, we've always been taught to freeze. But if he freezes, he's out. As soon as that ball's hit, John Birdie lickety split back to the bag. But I think 66, 75 bags, somewhere in that range, will lead Major League Baseball in 2023.
I hope you're right. I hope that we see it jump that much where you go another 20, 25 stolen bases. I think it's going to be a little bit lower, though. I think that we're going to be maybe right around that 50 mark. But, Ron, I'm rooting for you because I like the stolen base.
And one guy that certainly could get there is Jazz Chisholm Jr. We talk about him a lot on our Marlins broadcasts, and I'm sure Cardinals fans, great baseball fans in their own right, are familiar with this guy as well. A dynamic talent, great power, great speed. And boy, if he can get on base at a regular clip, he might be one of those guys that tests 40, 50 steals. Tapper out in front of the plate. Kisner pouncing on it to get Jazz at first base. The key to move up to second, 2 away.
The key for Jazz Chisholm this year is to stay healthy. If they can keep Jazz healthy and on the field as he learns a new position, as he runs down the line. Nice play here by the catcher to throw him out at first base, especially with Jazz running. A lot of times catchers will reach down for that ball and look where the base runner is and mishandle it, but he did not do any of that. Nice play.
Back to the top of the order for Segura, who takes a strike. Grounded back to Matz in his first at-bat today. And leadoff spot for the Marlins today. We'll see how the Marlins shake out their order once the season begins. Another option could be Luis Arraez, who is with Team Venezuela in the World Baseball Classic. But certainly options for how to lay out the lineup. And it might be one of those things, Rod, where the Marlins have 7 games in a week and 7 different lineups.
Yeah, I mean, lefties might have a different right-hander leading off, and if you're a right-handed pitcher, might have a left-hander leading off. I think Skip is just really just learning his new team. He didn't know anybody in the organization before he got here, so he had to take a crash course on not only learning his players, but learning the entire organization.
There's a lot that goes into sitting in that chair, isn't it? It's all the media responsibilities, different things even away from the field. The key focus is always that 26-man roster and then everything else that's going on in the organization. But this is a guy, he's worn every hat in the game. I mean, he played in the big leagues for over a decade. He's been in the front office. He's been a first base coach. He bench coach for the Cardinals last year. And it's just, this was the natural progression for Skip Schumacher.
And wearing a green hat today for St. Patrick's Day. So now he's really worn all the different hats.
And I like the way he compiled his staff this year. A lot of guys that were with him in San Diego or where he was in L.A. or where he was in St. Louis. He surrounded himself with really good quality baseball men.
A little low there to Segura. And one key guy that he brought over that, again, Cardinals fans know really well is John Jay.
Yes.
And John Jay will be the first base coach. Not with the team today. He'll be part of the coaching staff as the Marlins have a split squad tonight. But he's the one that's kind of walking Jazz through center field. There's a base hit for Segura. Birdie rounding third. He's going to score. And Segura has himself an RBI single.
That's what Segura will do a lot of this year for the Marlins. Saw several pitches from Matz. He finally waited until he got something up in the strike zone. Didn't hit it extremely hard off the end of the bat, but got enough of it to hit the ball in the left field for a base hit and an RBI. But that's what Gene Segura, that's what Arise can do. Gurriel in the batter's box can also do it very well. These guys put the ball in play. They don't give away at bats. They don't strike out very often.
And that's where that big bolt from a guy like Jorge Soler or Avi Garcia, that's where it really hurts. You get guys on.
That's right.
Yeah, I've heard people say there are two types of hitters in a lineup. There's the table setters and the table clearers. Last year the Marlins did their best to try to bring in some table clearers, Avi Garcia and Jorge Soler. This year a little bit more of the table setter type with Arise and with Segura, and then maybe a guy kind of in the middle here with Yuli Gurriel. Batting champ in the American League 2 years ago with the Houston Astros. The Marlins have the last two batting champs.
Something that Jim Leland, who managed a long time in the majors, and he's probably going to be a Hall of Fame manager, he used to talk about, I don't care about that on-base percentage. I don't care about that guy that can get on first base. Give me them guys that can drive that guy in from first base. That's what I want.
And to right center, Carlson makes the catch. And the inning is over. Marlins get one, though, on the RBI from Gene Segura. Cardinals in control. As Trevor Rogers goes back to work, he'll face Wilson Contreras to lead things off. Paul Severino, Rod Allen from Valley Sports Florida. Brad Thompson from Valley Sports Midwest. Glad you're with us today. Contreras offers at the first one and sends a fly ball down the right field line. A step into foul territory. Soler makes the catch, and there's one away.
Soler in right field. We don't see Soler in right field very often.
That's right. And Avi's in left. So again, you wonder with a lot of the mixing and the matching that the Marlins are planning on for this year. Maybe that's what they're trying to do here in the spring too.
Yeah, maybe Soler more comfortable in right field.
Nolan Gorman takes ball one.
You'd have to think for Trevor Rogers getting the first batter out of the inning. Nice breath of fresh air for him. This is actually a really good opportunity too for Nolan Gorman. Mentioned Gorman made his debut last year. Only had 19 at-bats though last year against lefties. Really just faced the righties. Like to see how he hangs in here against Rogers.
I wanted to ask you in the moment, but I'll ask it 20 minutes later. We were talking earlier about, oh, it's a good thing you're home in a spring training game and you can call on the backfields to bring in younger pitchers. Did that ever happen to you? Were you ever on the backfield and somebody said, hey, Thompson, get over here?
No, I was never talented enough to be called over from that side. They would usually call up somebody else. But it is a thrill, though, as a young player, like getting that chance. First of all, it's just fun to just sit out in the bullpen. Like you're on the card.
Popped up to left center. Avi camped underneath it.
Yeah, you get the chance to just sit out there with big leaguers. You feel like you're a part of it. Maybe you get a little meal money, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's always a nice thing.
That's a win. You're actually having something good to eat. But then things start going quickly, and you have to come get out of a jam. Happened yesterday for the Cardinals again for Jack Flaherty. Guy came in, got a punch out for the Birds. Like, that's exciting.
Juan Yepes 0 for 1 today. Walked and scored in that 9-run second inning. And grounds one here to shortstop. Wendell's throw is in time, and Trevor works a clean 1-2-3 4th inning. We'll step aside in Jupiter.
Watch as the game.
To you by Chevrolet. See your Mid-America Chevy dealer. By CarShield. CarShield cars go farther. And by Toyota. Dear adventure, ready when you are. Toyota, let's go places. Sunday, April 2nd, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will take home a lightweight hooded long sleeve pullover. Tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
Welcome back. Bottom of the 4th inning on a St. Patrick's Day afternoon here in Jupiter. Steven Matz going to work against Jorge Soler, and a first pitch in there for a called strike.
Matz has a real nice rhythm out there. I mean, he's getting that ball back from the catcher, and he's firing that ball to the plate in less than 8 seconds. That's what Soler saw a lot of last year. He and Avi Garcia, I think they were 1 and 2 in baseball in breaking ball scene. Both guys saw over 40% breaking balls last year. I mean, pitchers would come out of the dugout with the arms cocked, ready to throw the breaking ball.
Ron, I would make one up if I was facing those guys, even if I didn't have it.
40%, Brad.
You guys kill heaters. If you're going to throw it, you're going to throw it like that. You're going to use it for effect. You're going to use it up above the zone.
Now
so
here comes the breaking ball.
Exactly. Change the eye level. Show them something else.
It puts him away.
Fastball up, comes back with a changeup, pulled the string on Soler. Nice fading action on that changeup by Matz as well. Look at the action on this pitch. Nice tailing action away from the barrel of the bat for Soler.
And Rod, you know the key to that is the arm action better look like your fastball.
And the previous pitch was key, wasn't it?
Exactly, it was. It set it up with the heater up above the zone.
Garrett Cooper fouls that one back and out of play. Cooper a single in the second inning. Erased on a double play. That one bounced foul.
Coop looks good. He is big and strong and physical, and he put on a lot of muscle in the offseason. He said he wants to hit for more power this year. He has the ability to do so. Remember that month of June he had last year? Hit like 380.
Yeah.
Helped him make an all-star team.
Certainly did.
So what was the difference in the second half for Cooper?
I don't know exactly what happened to Cooper. I don't know if it was the all-star. I don't know if it was the June, but he just stopped making real good, consistent contact. He started falling behind in certain counts, and he just never really regained it. It's been a couple of stints on the IL list, too. So he just didn't rediscover after the all-star break.
Called strike 3, back-to-back strikeouts for Steven Matz.
Matz is working on his breaking ball in this particular inning and the changeup. A lot of times pitchers in spring training, they'll start out with the fastball. They'll throw lots of fastballs first couple of innings, and then they'll start to mix some things up the third and fourth and the fifth inning, and he appears to be doing that here today.
That was that late breaker, too. Throws it hard, puts it where he wants to. He can throw it for a strike and for chase.
Is it as simple as a checklist? Today I'm going to work on fastball in, and today I'm going to work on curveball. Like, is it as simple as that, or is it a little bit more of the overall, hey, if I get into a spot?
Yeah, I think it's more so, look, you're going out there to get your reps in, and Dusty Blake, the pitching coach, always has a plan of attack for all of his guys. But if you're Steven Matz, you're going in to get your work, and you're going to use what you need in a spot. Use the sinker there. Nice play.
Nice defense for the Cardinals. A couple of strikeouts in that play over third by Gorman. A 1-2-3 frame as we head to the 5th in Jupiter.
This puts the surf and
Back here in Jupiter, Cardinals in front 10-1. Paul Severino and Ron Allen with Valley Sports Florida. Brad Thompson with Valley Sports Midwest. Glad you're with us today. Trevor Rogers back to work. Kind of a funky line as he started the second inning, was lifted, and then came back out to pitch the third and fourth, and begins the fifth inning here against the bottom of the Cardinals order. Kisner, Mercado, and Wynn due up. And Kisner actually had 2 of the 3 outs in that 9-run second inning. Comes through with a base hit to start things in the 5th.
Yeah, Kiz really needed something good to happen there after what you just said, making 2 of the outs. He jumps on the first pitch he sees, just elevated, something belt high, and puts a nice swing on it. Kisner's a guy that hit in every level at the minors, just hasn't got that traction offensively at the big league level.
And I would imagine maybe the last couple of years it was different, but it was almost the best and the worst job in sports was back up to Yadi Molina, because he plays every day. So you're never getting reps. You're getting all that meal money that we were talking about.
It is very difficult to be a productive offensive player when the other guy's playing all the time. Last year was actually the first time since Mike Matheny that somebody other than Yadier Molina caught the bulk of the innings as Andrew Kisner did.
Yeah. Inside to Mercado, down and in. Mercado, a big hit in this one. Was hit by a pitch and scored in the second, and then later had himself a triple and scored.
Had a nice conversation with Trevor a few days ago, and I was asking him, has the pitch clock been a problem for him? He said not at all. As a matter of fact, there are several pitchers that feel like the pitch clock will really help them, make them speed up, cause them not to think as much as they have thought in the past. And a lot of these guys will really have to rely on their catcher and putting down the signs and just throwing what they and trust their catchers. Good pitch.
Rod, how would it be for you from a hitter standpoint? Because I think that's one of the biggest differences.
Well, I think a lot of guys, especially if you're a guy that really likes to step out of the batter's box after every single pitch, those guys are going to have problems. But I was a guy that always kept one foot in the box anyway. So for me, it would not have been a problem to be ready with 8 seconds to go. However, several guys will have problems with that.
Chavez behind home plate, now drifting back toward the on-deck circle, makes the catch.
And I think that's the biggest thing. I like the fact that Major League Baseball, they made sure from the word go in spring training that they were going to play by the new rules, which will help everybody become more acclimated to everything that's going on. They said in the minor leagues last year, it took most of the guys, 50% of the league had it after 1 week and 30% to make it 80 after that. So there's just a few guys that really weren't able to grasp what was going on.
Well, Skip Schumacher, a guy that liked to adjust his batting gloves every time, every pitch.
And Mason Wynn with a base hit through the left side. So Wynn continuing a good spring and a good day on base for the 3rd time.
3rd hit, man. It's a homer away from the cycle.
Goodness.
Second baseman number 33, Brendan Donovan.
Brendan Donovan now back to the top of the order here.
I was reading some stuff on Donovan last night. He went to one of those labs,
Marucci,
in the offseason. I mean, guys are going to labs now to get better pitchers, hitters, and they learn about their swing. They learn which bat they can handle. They learn the size of the bat they should use. They learn how strong their hands are. They learn so many things about their body, and it dictates the kind of bat that they use. And so after he went to the lab, he came back with that new knob that's on that bat right there, and also a heavier bat, 1 ounce heavier than he did last year.
But the key with that knob, too, is it doesn't feel heavier. It's more of a counterbalance. So the idea is getting that barrel through a little bit faster. That's what Donovan said. He said, I'm not swinging harder. I'm not trying to do anything more. But we've seen he's got 4 home runs so far in Grapefruit League play.
He said he's taken the same swing this year that he did last year, but with a heavier bat, more condensed wood, ball traveling a little further. And he started hitting on December 1st, 5 days a week.
That'll do it, too.
Yeah, that helps.
The reps, as we've talked about. He also just, and again, slight adjustment. This is a guy in his rookie season had a .396 on-base percentage. So he's doing everything you wanted him to do. But his setup now is a little bit taller. He waits until the pitch is coming to get down into his legs and really use his base.
Ground ball to Gurriel, goes to second for 1, on to first. Rogers couldn't find the bag in time. Donovan may have beaten it anyway.
I really like Gurriel over at first base. He won a Gold Glove while playing for the Houston Astros, and he's 38, 39 years old, but he still moves very well around that first base bag, and he doesn't look like he's 39 years old. Nice feed right there to Joey Wendell, but Rogers just can't get there to find the bag. Imagine that big old base, and he can't find it with those big old 15 shoes.
Next year, when they're 21 inches around, that's an out.
He got 15 shoes. You got a big bag. He can't find it. Imagine that.
Just kind of how that day was going for him, really. He's settled in, though. He's looking a lot better.
Dylan Carlson takes his strike. It is amazing, and I understand the science behind it, so I'm more just being a little goofy when I say it, but it's amazing with the shape that these players are in nowadays that 1 ounce can make such a difference with a bat. It's amazing.
Yeah.
These guys are benching thousands of pounds and throwing trucks over their heads.
Right.
And I don't know, that's 33.5 ounces. I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, but to me, it's also a credit to the guys that are willing to make changes. Guys who had success and will make little tweaks if they think it'll make them better.
Well, Donovan's a perfect example of that. Rookie, .396 on base percentage. He won a Gold Glove, and December 1st, he's hitting 5 days a week trying to get better. And I think that's common with most of the guys in the movies. That would be the big leagues for you new listeners out there.
That's off the glove of Rogers. Dies around second base. No player run scores.
This Cardinals attack today, just relentless. This ball would have been right to the shortstop, but as he knocked it down, there's no play anymore for Birdie or Wendell.
Those ones are maddening, too, as a pitcher. You know that you should probably let it go, let it sneak through, but your reaction is go out there, try to snag it. He couldn't do it.
So for the second time today, as strange as that sounds, Trevor Rogers has been taken out of this ball game. Marlins make a pitching change, and we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back. Marlins going to the bullpen. 11-1 our score. 2 on and 2 out. A guy who's played for both of these organizations in his past. In fact, Johan Quezada out to pitch. 28 years old, out of the Dominican Republic. Last pitched and only pitched in the big leagues in 2020, but a little time in the Cardinals organization as well.
A couple of big boys out there right now going up against each other. Ooh, little piece of cheese right there. 33 home runs for Walker in his first 2 minor league seasons.
It's also the ability that he has to hit for average. I think that's kind of what makes him special.
How do you get this good at age 20? I mean, did he say, where he's learned? From his parents? I mean, how's he gotten this good?
Yeah, I think that first of all, just God-given gift, right? He's got the genetics, but he's always just been a grinder. He credits his parents for, always just having everything available there for him, but he's just a gifted player who keeps working.
Ooh. Ripped down the line and toward the corner. That'll score 1. It rolls around to Avi Garcia in left field. 2 runs in on the double for Jordan Walker.
You can't teach that kind of bat speed. I don't know exactly what that ball left his bat at, but it had to be about 110 miles an hour at least.
115.9.
Oh, my, shortchanged him.
115.
Come on, seriously?
That's the thing with Quezada. He tried to go with the cutter right there. You know that the cutter, if it backs up, that turns into a BP fastball. Gets the hands in on it.
If he'd have got underneath that thing, he'd have hit it over that roof.
We've already seen him during batting practice, oohs and ahs. He's hitting stuff off the green awning, the roof out there in left field.
There is Jose Alvarez getting his first at-bat today. Hitting for Wilson Contreras, who was the DH this afternoon for the Cardinals.
Is it safe to say, Brad, that if all things being equal, regular spring training, Walker and Mason Wynn don't get as many reps as they're getting this spring?
For sure. With the World Baseball Classic, the Cardinals had Tyler O'Neill playing for Team Canada, Lars Nootbaar for Japan. There were far more reps there. And Tommy Edman playing for Korea. it opened up a lot of different things. Now, I think that Jordan Walker was always going to be given a chance to hit his way onto this team. Ollie Marmol talked about that, and the staff said, hey, the young man's got a chance. But it really helped out for Mason Wynn getting these extra reps. And both of these guys, I mean, if you didn't know anything about their track record, you just say, hey, pick your best team. They're both on it.
Ollie Marmol in his second year upcoming here as manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. A little bit of a different coaching staff, right? Obviously his bench coach last year is now the Marlins skipper, and Skip Schumacher.
I think Skip learned a lot from Ollie as well.
New pitching coach, new hitting coach as well, as Alvarez flies one out to right field. And the inning is over, but the Cardinals get 3 more and open things up as we're halfway home in Jupiter.
Cardinals Hall of Fame presented by Edward Jones. This year's nominees are Joaquin Andujar, Steve Carlton, David Freese, Matt Morris, and Edgar Renteria. Cast your vote at cardinals.com/Hall of Fame. Voting closes April 21st. Your Budweiser What's on Tap? Matthew Liberatore. He's going to take on the Tigers tomorrow at noon right here on Bally Sports Midwest. Been a solid spring so far for Libby.
And Steven Matz back to work. Last of the 5th inning. Plenty of run support. 13 runs, 12 hits for St. Louis. Marlins have a run on 3 hits and an error as Joey Wendell takes the first pitch strike. Wendell, Birdie, and Chavez due up for the Marlins. Cut on and missed. So Wendell, Rod, is a guy for the Marlins that with Miguel Rojas now a member of the Dodgers takes over. Potentially as the everyday shortstop. So now toward left center field, long run and over Jordan Walker's leap. So Wendell with a double right there, and we know about the defense, but maybe the offense could get going these last few weeks.
That's a nice piece of hitting right there by Joey Wendell. An 0-2 count by Matz. Matz would love to have that pitch back, but one thing we know about Wendell, he will go the opposite way, especially with 2 strikes, and he finds that seam in left center field. Jordan Walker made an outstanding attempt in left field, but could not run it down. But back to the question that you asked, I like the fact that he's playing shortstop. I mean, he can handle everything that's hit at him. Joey doesn't have great range, and he'll admit to he doesn't have the strongest throwing arm, but what he does, he gets the balls quickly, and he gets rid of them quickly over to first base. I like the fact that he's getting a chance to play there every single day, and he still talks to Miguel Rojas about shortstop.
John Birdie with a base hit.
I think the Marlins kind of protected themselves by bringing in Jose Iglesias about a week ago or so. A wizard with that glove at shortstop, and maybe Jose will get some reps against tough left-handers to give Joey a spell from time to time.
Yeah, the Marlins still have a couple of decisions to make when it comes to, you mentioned Jose Iglesias or Yuli Gurriel. Both those guys brought in on minor league deals and certainly could be added to the roster before it's all said and done. They'll have to make some other moves to make that happen. But if that's the case, what it can do for them is create some depth. And we've seen that before for the Marlins, where unfortunately it seems a guy here or a guy there gets banged up, and then who they bring up might not be particularly ready for that role because they hadn't had that depth.
Yeah, those guys are pros. Iglesias and also Yuri Gurriel. Gurriel was, I mean, I think they say he was maybe the best Cuban player ever when he was playing in Cuba before coming stateside and signing with the Houston Astros. One of the best to ever play in Cuba.
That's saying something. They've had some talent come out of there. Santiago Chavez waits on an 0-1 pitch.
It's a good pitch right there by Matz, trying to get that fastball inside.
Yeah, his ability, he and Jordan Montgomery both from the left side do a really good job of getting their fastballs in on right-handed hitters.
And it's not the easiest thing for a left-hander to do.
Popped up right side. It'll be Carlson out there to make the call in the catch.
Yeah, another example of it right there. Just ends up getting in on there, not able to get the barrel to it. And it's a dangerous pitch if you can't control it, because it ends up, especially with the sinking action that Matz has, it ends up right down the middle. If, in fact, you don't make your pitch, that's where you really get hurt.
All right. He's at 63 pitches now, trying to get through this 5th inning and face
Jazz Chisholm Jr. with a runner at second base and 2 outs.
One of the things Jazz said he'd like to improve on this year, he'd like to improve on his numbers against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, that was a spot early on last year where the Marlins tried to maybe here and there pick their spots as to which lefties he would face. But a guy with this skill and this talent, well, if he's out there every day, it shouldn't really matter.
I don't think they're going to use Jazz like they did last year. I think he's going to be out there just about every single day against left-handers, obviously against right-handers, whereas, as you mentioned, last year they picked their spots. Certain lefties he did not play against. Started the second game of the year out in San Francisco. What was that about, Brad? That meeting in the mound?
So get him to hit a ground ball over to first base. Make sure you cover.
Wow, that's exactly what happened.
Look, Kisner's a good teacher.
You're smart.
Got him right through it.
Worked out. It's like he's been there before.
For back pain, I've always been a take 2 and call in the morning guy. But my new doctor recommended Salon Pass.
Marlins go to the bullpen, top of the 6th inning. Dylan Floro on to work. Paul Severino, Ron Allen from the Marlins side of things. Valley Sports Florida. Brad Thompson here from the Cardinals. Valley Sports Midwest. Glad that you're with us today. All Cardinals on the strength of a 9-run second inning.
And Dylan not going to overpower you with the fastball. Fastball, it goes anywhere from 90 to 93, but has real nice movement on the sinker. Has a nice little cutter and a breaking ball. Got off to a slow start last year after coming off the injured list, but after the first week where he gave up some runs, he was pretty much shut down the remainder of the way and reclaimed his closer's role before the season was over.
And he figures to be part of a group that's toward the back end of games, some of which we may see throughout the afternoon today. His first pitch to Nolan Gorman is a strike. So Marlins not necessarily going with a full-time closer, 9th inning, and that's it. They're not going closer by committee where they're riding the hot hand. Their plan is to go with matchups is what they say. I was going to say closer by committee, but no, matchups. So it could be guys like Floro and A.J. Puck and Matt Barnes. Tanner Scott would be those guys who are all slated to perhaps pitch the rest of the way. So that's kind of the way that Skip Schumacher plans on attacking late games and matchups in 2023. Gorman with a fly ball to deep left field. This one's going to go off the base of the wall. And Gorman to second base with a leadoff double.
I think one of the reasons why Skip Schumacher decided not to go with a closer by naming one right now is what they did last year when he was bench coach for the St. Louis Cardinals. He mentioned Ryan Helsley's name, the closer that they have, but he said he also watched him get used in the 7th inning, in the 8th inning, in pressure situations. So you don't want to just hand the ball to one guy. You want to pick the best guy in the 7th inning, the 8th inning, to get those guys out that are coming up.
It's important, and I think that the biggest key to that, and something that Skip does very well, the key is communication. As long as you're talking to your relievers and they know what is to be expected. You know, you don't want a guy to be surprised when the phone rings, then you're good. The guys will be fine with their role.
Pinch runner at second base.
But so many times pitchers talk about roles and wanting to know what their roles are in the bullpen. Do you buy into that, Brad?
So I think that there are some guys that are far more comfortable with just like the 9th inning. I also believe that the 9th inning is a different beast that not everyone can handle. Right. I know that the analytics crowd says it's the same. It's not. It's different. But I do
in the left base hit for Juan Yepez, and that'll drive in a run. So the Cardinals continue to tack on.
Yepez jumping on another one right here. But I do think that guys are getting more and more used to being used differently. And I think that there's actually a pride in being the guy that comes in a very tight spot. Get another look at Juan Yepez. Sinker coming into him. Gets the hands in. Good balanced swing.
You said something that was key right there, keeping the hands inside. That's the only way that you can keep that ball fair that's that far inside. You got to lead with that bat knob to make sure the barrel of the bat's over the heart of the plate when you make contact.
Yeah, usually you see that one snap hook down the line, foul ball.
Yep.
Luke and Baker running at first base after the Yepez base hit. Now Andrew Kisner taking a called strike.
We were talking about Yepez and Albert Pujols. I don't think I've ever seen a right-handed hitter keep his hands inside the baseball better than that man. Albert can keep a ball that's 6 inches off the plate. He can keep that thing fair.
He was legit.
I think he might go down. I don't know. Like, he might go down in history as one of the best. I'm not sure. It could be a Hall of Famer. We'll see.
It could be.
Top 50.
Yeah.
No doubt. Top 50.
At least.
I think we were treated the last couple of decades with Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols. Two of the best to ever do it.
Yes, sir.
And Miguel Cabrera, he will shut it down after this year is over with just a first ballot Hall of Famer. Albert as well. You can't teach what those guys had.
No.
You just can't teach it.
No, and for Cardinal fans, it was painful when Albert left, but having him come back last year, that was special. And doing it the way that he did the second half, there was only one hitter in all of baseball that had a higher OPS than Albert Pujols. That was Aaron Judge in the second half. I mean, he just really helped carry an offense that had Arenado and had the MVP in Goldie.
It was must-see TV down the stretch when he was hitting all those homers. I have to admit it.
A strike on the corner. That's, again, as an outsider, what was so cool about it last year. It wasn't just some victory lap with some old broken down thoroughbred who was just showing up every
trot him out there, show pony.
Yeah, but he was doing special things, and he was getting the Cardinals to get back into the postseason and hitting huge home runs and being a lead. He was doing all those things. It wasn't just, well, I'm here, whatever, I'll sign some autographs and bring some folks to the ballpark. Like, he was a big piece of what was going on. It was great to see.
And from a leadership standpoint, really helped a lot of the guys. But I had the fortune to play with Albert in his MVP seasons. And it had that same feeling. Like in a spot you knew he'd get it done.
Even though he works for the Angels now, he was in Cardinals camp a few days ago, and they said he was talking to all the players again, helping out all the young kids, just like he had always done.
I think anywhere he goes, he's going to help somebody in one way or another, and that's just kind of in his nature.
We talked about it before. If you're Juan Yepes or anyone like that with a player like an Albert Pujols or Yadier Molina, you got to figure, get to a point where the Yadi or the Albert says, okay, dude, get away from me now. I need some space. Like, you want to bother them that much and get all that information.
Yeah, Albert got there with Juan Yepes, but loves him like a brother.
I think one time last year, I believe Yepes hit 2 home runs against us in one game. And then you could see him and Albert talking on the bench. I mean, after the second home run, it almost looked like Albert was saying to him, you ain't done nothing yet. Go hit another one.
Yep.
You got 2, go get another one.
It's a good day. Go have a great one.
Floro's used both of his disengagements here, so they get something. Well, we're not going to get anything on the base hit into left field. We'll see how they score that one off to the side of Segura.
Well, he got caught in between, did Gene Segura, on that particular play. He didn't know whether to go back or whether to come in, but those are some of the reps that he's going to get while he's back in spring training. He started in and he went back, and then once he tried to come in, he picked a bad hop for himself, and that ball trickled off of his glove into left field. Looks like they've given him an error on that play.
I don't think people understand how big of a difference it is moving to the other side of the infield, too. You're playing the hot corner, your instincts totally change, don't they?
Yes, they do. And that ball from a right-handed batter gets on you in a hurry. Whereas when you're up the middle, you've got a little bit more time. You've got a shorter throw. You have more time to throw the ball.
Yeah, folks sometimes think, well, a ground ball is a ground ball for outfielders, and a fly ball is a fly ball. But there's so many intricacies to it that, yeah, you need to take however many ground balls a day to get used to it and work on that timing. And it's something that Gene, a little bit of time over there at third base, of course, but will be asked to be the everyday guy this year. Tested right there, up to the task. 5-4 to 3 for the double play.
That ball will find you, won't it? Nice play there. Nice feed to second base to John Birdie. That's the key. He feels the ground ball flawlessly, but the key is giving the good feed to the second baseman, which he did there. Take a look at this feed to Birdie, right in the chest.
Bring up Mason Wynn. Runner at third and 2 outs.
What a day he's had.
A home run shy of the cycle.
Well, go ahead and get it, young man. Let it rip. I've been so impressed with his approach at the plate. Young age. He's got a really good idea of what he's doing, what his strike zone looked like. I mean, you mentioned a home run shy of the cycle. Fastball right there just off the plate. His eyes don't light up. It's a good, solid take.
Cardinals offense has been busy all day. 9 runs in the second, scored again in the third, 3 runs in the fifth, and 1 so far here in the sixth. A 14-1 lead.
Not sure if it's the key or not to the Cardinals offense, but it's very notable. You get Chip Carey out of the booth, this team scores.
He'll be back tomorrow, right?
He will.
He will.
He might be here at the ball game. He's got his family in town. He's a baseball rat.
Where is he? Let's go find him, shall we?
Not hard to find.
Chip. I know. Best hair in the league.
And squish.
In the ballpark day, Saturday, May 6th at Busch Stadium. Enjoy a game with man's best friend. Cardinals tickets are on sale at cardinals.com/pooches. Your Budweiser plays of the game. Mason Wynn is having himself a day. A triple, a double, a single. Showing it all off and driven in for a nice day for the young Mason Wynn.
Back here in Jupiter, Cardinals go to the bullpen for the first time today. Drew Verhagen is on to pitch after a pretty good outing for the lefty Steven Matz. The numbers last season for Verhagen. He'll face the top of the Marlins orders, Segura, Gurriel, and Soler.
They're very encouraged with what Drew has been doing so far this spring. They really love him. He pitched in Japan a couple of years ago, came back stateside last year. You saw his numbers, not very good, but he's a former #1 draft choice of the Detroit Tigers, and he's got some good stuff.
Yeah, you'll see it. You'll see the radar gun. You'll see a mid-90s. He's got a very good breaking ball as well. He had 3 different stints on the IL last year. His season was ended with hip surgery, so he finally looks healthy. There's the good look at that breaking ball.
Good kid, too, man. I love this kid, man. I had a chance to broadcast games for the Tigers for a number of years, and Drew was on some of those Tigers teams, and just a real nice young man.
Pitch to Segura. Line out to left field. Walker not going to get there. Will take a couple of hops off the wall, and Segura cruising into second base with a leadoff 2-base hit. His second hit of the ballgame and an RBI back in the third.
I don't know about you, Brad, but he already threw the one real good breaking ball to Segura. Then he comes back with the same exact breaking ball. Even though it was a little bit away from him, Segura was able to reach out and stay back with his hands to still drive that ball for a double. But should he come back-to-back pitches right there?
Well, it's one, if you're going to throw it again, you better bury it. And that ends up being the thing, because you can see the swing of Segura. It's not like he saw it coming. Yeah, exactly. He just put it in a spot where he was able to still handle it in a very good piece of hitting. So if you're going to go back to it, bury it.
This one out to right. Drifting back as Carlson makes the catch. Gurriel retired, but runner will move up to third base.
Even though the Marlins are trailing by a bunch of runs in the contest, runner on second, you got nobody out, you still have the veteran batter in Gurriel still doing what he needs to do to get that guy over to third base. They're still playing the game the right way. You can't hit a 13-run home run, Paul.
No?
Last thing I checked.
Not even in the spring. You can take pitchers in and out 6 or 7 times. No.
So I'm a fan of guys still playing the game the way the game's supposed to be played.
Well, that runner that moved up 90 feet, the pinch runner Ian Lewis, so he's at third with Soler at the plate, and an 0-1 count on the Marlins right fielder today.
And now you have Soler up there with the runner on third, less than 2 outs. They've been working on these situations all spring long with Brant Brown, the new hitting coach, and John Mabry. You got to get this guy in. Ground ball will get him in.
Well, Rod, those things of playing the game the right way. It doesn't matter the score. That's what your staff is looking for right now. Who are the guys that can do it the right way?
Yes.
High pop. Carlson in right, coming in. And Lewis will stay put. Not deep enough. And it is, listen, you can't nitpick in a 14-1 spring training game. But those are the spots, Rod, where the Marlins, once the games count for real, they're going to have to come through. They're going to have to push those runs across because they lost 40-some-odd one-run games last year. So a couple of ways to look at it. And the positive one is more times than not, they were one big hit or big situational execution away from winning a bunch more games last year.
And I think Kim Ang and her staff, all the players that they brought in this year, even the players they traded for late last year, are guys that will put the ball in play, guys that will give you a quality at bat, guys that are not going to strike out very often. They had way too much swing and miss in their game last year. Now they've balanced that attack out, and it should aid them in scoring more runs and also being a lot better in those one-run contests, especially with their pitching staff.
Meanwhile, the Cardinals on the other side got that big hit more often than not. Top 5 in the National League with runners in scoring position.
Oh, they can ball now. And the guys on the corners, Arenado and Goldschmidt. I mean, Arenado's a Hall of Fame lock for me right now. And Goldschmidt, he is getting there too.
You think about that nucleus that the Cardinals have with those two guys representing the USA on the biggest stage right now in the World Baseball Classic, and then you add in a young guy like Jordan Walker. Maybe Nolan Gorman takes that next step. Tyler O'Neill, we saw 2 years ago, the power that he possessed. For Ollie Marmol, like, that's exciting if these things end up coming to fruition, how dangerous this lineup can be.
One of the things I've always admired about the Cardinals, when they make a big deal, whether they go out and get Big McGuire, whether it be going out and getting an Arenado or Goldschmidt, when they go out and get those big ticket items, they don't miss on the guy. They don't miss on him.
Yeah, it's a great call. Jim Edmonds, Matt Holliday.
Matt Holliday.
Yep. And then they keep them around. That's the thing. You go out, you acquire the target, then you sign him to that long-term deal.
Marlins lead 1 1/3 after Cooper strikes out. All Cardinals today.
Opportunity won't always.
Welcome back to Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium here in Jupiter. Grapefruit League action today between the Marlins and the Cardinals. From Bally Sports, Florida, I'm Paul Severino along with Rod Allen. And representing the Cardinals and Bally Sports Midwest, Brad Thompson. Glad to be with you. Our great Bally Sports Midwest crew and some of our local camera guys here from South Florida working hard today. So everybody getting along well, which is very important. We appreciate the hard work for everyone. This Friday afternoon is Tanner Scott is on to pitch for the Marlins.
St. Patrick's Day.
That's right. You had a little corned beef for lunch?
I did taste a little bit of that corned beef.
How'd that work out for you?
It was good. It worked out nice. Just a little taste.
Nice. Brad was drinking that Ecto Cooler stuff we drank as kids because it was green.
It's delicious.
And you didn't have any of the corned beef because you said you're going to get some when you get home tonight. So you didn't want to. You didn't spoil it.
It's going to be dinner tonight.
You're good. You're good. Your wife will be proud of you.
I try.
This guy right here, man, he's got some wipeout stuff. This got, I mean, fastball 97, 98, wipeout slider, but he just needs to get in the strike zone. 46 walks last year in just over 60 innings. If he could somehow figure out a way to throw more strikes, there's not many left-handers in our sport with this kind of stuff.
Sometimes that unpredictability, too, you know this as a hitter, that's almost more terrifying. You don't know where he's going to be with it. And an interesting at-bat for right here, Jeremy Rivas. This is the youngest player in the Cardinals camp.
Go get that slider.
Dribble to first base.
And I think sometimes, and I'm not saying it with Scott, and he's not the only one. I think with analytics now, some guys, when they tell you you've got a really good slider, this is your best pitch, I think some guys will start throwing that slider 70-75% of the time, as Scott did last year. And sometimes he get himself in that pressure situation. As a hitter, you know you're going to get that slider. Even though it's a good slider, you can still put it in play. But I think we're going to see him throw more fastballs this year, and if he throws more strikes, the sky's the limit for this guy.
Yeah, I don't care how good whatever your pitch is. If you're not setting it up with something else, if you know it's coming, it is going to be hittable.
Scott to Dylan Carlson. There's a strike, 1-1.
We have another left-hander in our bullpen by the name of Steven Okert as well, and he's slider happy too. And he told me this year he's working on more fastballs up in the zone, because when you go to that slider, as you said, it's more predictability.
Well, those two pitches just play off each other so well, too. The fastball, the slider, they both look the same coming out of the hand, and then one of them halfway there darts the other direction and keeps you on your toes.
That's why I always love seeing the overlays of the different pitch types. We do it all the time with a guy like Sandy, where the fastball and the changeup go in just in 2 different directions sometimes, with the slider. It's awesome to see. And now I couldn't play past high school, but I'm glad I'm not a big league hitter.
I'll tell you what, for some reason it seemed easier to the hitter when I was pitching. I don't know what it is, but
bat goes flying. Look out.
You have no time to react, and you have all of these pitchers that have ungodly stuff, and you just got to get up there and battle. It just tells you how talented some of these guys are and how quick they can react.
And the pitches are moving the width of the plate. Like it's not like an inch or 2 here or there. It's 17 inches the opposite direction from one pitch to the next.
Well, hitting is so hard at the big league level is one of the reasons why some of the rules have changed. I mean, you've got the bigger bases. Now first base is 3 inches closer to home plate. They feel like it's going to be more bang-bang plays, which will result in infield hits. And once that guy gets on first base, he might be prone to steal because of that distance between first and second. So a lot of these rules that have been instituted by Major League Baseball were to help the hitters because pitching has become so difficult.
It has been. And I think that we as an industry and offensively, guys were reluctant to change. I mean, think about these contracts. They get paid for their doubles, their home runs, their power. So nobody was trying to hit against the shift. So Major League Baseball tried to take it in their own hands.
Carlson draws the walk. A 1-out base runner for St. Louis.
So early look for you guys as we've seen the newer rules. What do you think? I mean, what do you think about the pitch clock, the pace of play?
I like the pace of play. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I mean, average time, I think, in baseball during the course of spring training games are, what, 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's going to be more base running, the more steals, as I said earlier in the game. And every 15, every 20 seconds, something's happening, at least a pitch. I'm a fan of it. How about you?
Yeah, so far so good for me. I like the pace in which we play. For some reason, I don't know how we got to this, of taking all this time in between pitches and walking around.
The walk-up songs, man.
Well, I mean, some of them are good. They get you going a little bit.
I know. I'm going to miss some of those. I ain't going to lie to you.
We're going to have to treat it like TikTok. Make it short. But, yeah, one of the things, we all, were on these conference calls and Zoom meetings telling us about all the rules beforehand. And one of the things they kept popping up is, hey, you guys are going to be surprised. When the inning is about to start, the players will be ready, and the umpire will have to stop them. That has come to fruition pretty much every inning.
Broken bat. Knocked down by Wendell. They get one at second onto first. A wide throw. And did it get into the Cardinals dugout? It did. So Walker will move to second base on the wide throw, so that will lead to an error.
It's a nice job here by the shortstop, Joey Wendell. Broken bat off the bat of Jordan Walker. Big, strong, physical guy. He leaves his feet. He shuffles the ball to Birdie. Then Birdie turns and fires over to first base, and it's not close enough for the play to be made. So 3 errors today now for the Marlins.
And it looks like Walker's day is done. I'm not sure that he gets there. At-bats, gets their work in as Hurst takes over at second base.
Nice round of applause for Walker, too, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's getting the big league treatment around here. The fans understand who he is.
The fans want him, don't they?
Oh, yes, they do. Yes, they do. They are clamoring. And right now, you always miss having Goldie and Arenado. It's nice to have a guy like Jordan Walker around.
And in a 14-1 game in the spring, knowing this is probably his last at bat, if he just grounds one up the middle, ho-hum, okay, just careful stepping down the first baseline, maybe he doesn't force the errant throw there.
Right.
And that's what I'm sure the Cardinals are happy to see too.
That's a great point. Everything that he's done in this camp has been 100%.
Make no mistake about it. I mean, Skip Schumacher, I mean, everybody knew he was going to get a managerial opportunity. But King Ang said that the general manager said that she had to act quickly on him because everybody else out there wanted Skip Schumacher. And it's because of where he's been and what he's done. He's been a winner. He's been with the Cardinals, a tremendous organization.
Drops in front of Avisail Garcia in left field. Hurst comes in to score. It's a base hit and an RBI for Alvarez.
And Kim Ang also said that during the interview process with Skip Schumacher, all he talked about was winning. And that resonated very well with her. The fact that he talked about winning, winning, winning. He said the coaches will outwork the players. I've enjoyed watching his first spring training.
Well, you guys have got a chance to spend time with him. He's a polarizing personality. He's just very intentional in everything that he's doing. When you're talking to him, you're talking to him. Like, he's really there. He's present all the time, and his players are going to feel that. We talked about positional versatility for the Marlins this year. It's a guy that's done it at the big league level.
And he's real cool, too. He's a surfer.
That's right.
He loves to surf.
He complimented my sneakers the other day, so he's on my good list.
Did he? Did he really?
He did. I wasn't expecting it either.
I was chopping it up with him one day, and I said, when we go to California, are you going to go and surf it? He said, absolutely, I'm going surfing. Brad Osmus also liked to surf. He managed the Tigers for a few years and also managed the Angels, but he was a surfer, too. California guys. I'm from California, but I didn't get that memo.
Well, there's still time, all right? You can always pick up hobbies a little bit later.
Not at my age. I had a lot of buddies that
channel surfing. He's web surfing.
That did
There
it.
you go.
I was too busy playing some basketball or some football or some baseball.
You spent your time well.
Now we'll spend some time on that beach now.
Yeah, there's beaches here, but I don't think the waves are nearly as good on the East Coast. Luke and Baker taking a strike. A home run this spring. A run home for the Cardinals this inning. First and second and 2 outs.
Good pitch. Nice little slide piece at 87 miles an hour.
Well, the key with that one, too, is just the location down under the zone, because Baker's a guy, if you leave something up, I mean, he's got some big-time power. Got to bury that pitch.
He looks like it.
Yeah, they say don't judge a book by its cover. You can do it here. I mean, he's a big kid, big-time power.
First guy I think of judging the book by its cover was Luke Voigt, was a Cardinal for a little while.
Yes, he was, and had success. Obviously had big-time success as he was moved over to the Yankees, and a deal that really worked out well for the Cardinals, too, as Giovanni Gallegos came over in that deal. Been a pivotal piece of the Cardinal bullpen.
And Baker got that big barreled chest like Voigt.
.25 pitches this inning for Tanner Scott. Foul back. Still 2-2.
Just about every single pitch that he has thrown Baker has been a breaking ball in this pitch sequence. If Scott was to throw a fastball at 96, 97, I don't think Baker gets the bat off his shoulder. But we'll see if he throws a fastball here.
I like the way you're thinking. I do. You see enough of those spinners down, something elevated. I think that would really change the pace for him.
But it goes back to the percentages. I mean, last year he threw 70% sliders. And I think people know that when he comes into the ball game. Fastball.
Just missed away, and the bases will be loaded.
And judging by the way that Baker took that fastball, had it been over the plate, there's no way he'd have been able to swing at it.
You just said it. He wasn't going to be able to get the bat off the shoulder. That's exactly what happened. That thing just missed.
And Skip Schumacher out to make another pitching change.
Skip Schumacher, I'm going to have to ice his hamstrings after this one, partner. That's
yeah, there's a split squad. He might be heading up to Port St. Lucie later on, too. Loaded here in Jupiter. A pitching change. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. The top of the 7th inning rolling on here as it's a 15-1 Cardinals lead. A shared broadcast. Paul Severino and Rod Allen from Valley Sports Florida. Brad Thompson and many others representing Valley Sports Midwest. We're glad you're with us today. Chandler Joswiak on to pitch for the Marlins, and Pedro Paje on the Cardinals side of things takes a ball. Paje take over for Kisner behind the plate an inning or so ago. Gets his first at bat here.
Yeah, nice spot for him to come in too. Bases juiced, looking for something up in the zone.
This has not been a day in which the Marlins have been all that thrilled with the way that the pitching has gone. There was a couple of innings there where it looked like Trevor Rogers had bounced back. Of course, was a part of that 9-run second inning, was lifted, came back out for the third and fourth, and kind of settled in. But the bullpen and many others, 15 runs, 16 hits.
And Chandler, what is it, Jowiak? Josie, how do you say that, Paul?
Joswiak.
He might be one of those guys that came from the backfield because he wasn't listed on the initial players that were going to back up today. So with the score being as lopsided as it is, they may have had to call over to the minor league complex to get him over here.
So JoJo, don't shower up, buddy. Gonna need you.
And the bases loaded walk leads to another run as Alvarez comes in.
Brad, I always lean on the college-educated cats, man, for the pronunciation.
Oh, no, it's smart. Yeah, I just make up nicknames. And somebody,
real quick.
JoJo. Here we go, JoJo.
Real quick.
That was good.
Me and JoJo go way back.
But it's nice to have them college-educated cats, too. Smart ones.
So, yeah, something like that. I hope you're not talking about me. I'd be offended if you called me smart. But the flip side of that, Brad, was the pitching and the starting pitching specifically that the Cardinals got from Steven Matz today. He was really impressive.
He was good. He was efficient. 64 pitches through his 5 innings of work. No free passes either. That's something we saw last time out, his second outing of the spring. He ended up walking 3, and he was just unhappy with some of his fastball command. We saw very good command from him. Fastball, both sides of the plate, changeup, and breaking ball.
And you figure Steven Matz will have probably, what, 2, maybe a third spring tune-up left. As Oscar Mercado fouls it straight back.
Some real excitement of getting a chance to see Steven Matz in a full season. 10 starts last year, 15 games. Just when you thought that he was going to be back and he was healthy, playing a game against the Reds, he's going over to field a ground ball, hurts his knee. He ended up missing more than a month after that one. So a guy that has swing and miss ability in a rotation that needs it.
Of course, Adam Wainwright, Miles Michaelis, Jack Flaherty, and all big parts of that rotation for Ali Marmol. As the Cardinals once again have their eyes on postseason baseball.
I think for the Cardinals too, one of the biggest keys, I really think about that hump of not just making it to the postseason but going far, is that starting pitching. Who becomes a dominant force? And one of the names that you really think about to me is Jack Flaherty. I think that he's got that sort of stuff.
Now, that's always the key because they have plenty enough offense and pitching to get them into the postseason. But once you get there, I mean, it's a different animal. You got to have that nice number 1 and number 2 to go up against that team that you're going up against and shut them down.
Rod, you know this. Who's the guy that you fall asleep and you're worried about the next day? And that's what the Cardinals are going to try to figure out who that can be. Mm-hmm. The opposition say, I got to face Flaherty. No.
Yeah.
No. You guys have a bunch of those.
There's a couple to choose from.
Yeah.
Sure.
We got a nice staff.
Yeah. The reigning National League Cy Young Award winner, Sandy Alcantara, at the top of that list as Wendell makes the play over there at shortstop. Cardinals get a couple more. Leave the bases loaded here in Jupiter.
People remember ads with a catchy song. So to help you remember.
BOS, Bank Boldly, by Plaza Tire Service, the quick change experts, and by Budweiser, this Bud's for you. Peanuts Night returns to the ballpark on Monday, April 3rd. With the purchase of a special themed ticket, fans will receive an exclusive Cardinals-inspired Schroeder bobblehead. Get your tickets today at cardinals.com/theme.
Back here as Ryan Helsley takes over. A really good year last year. Look at that, over 13 strikeouts per 9. Guy that can bring it out of that Cardinals bullpen. Not a save situation here, however, but just getting his work in. And he'll face Avisail Garcia to lead things off. Joey Wendell and John Birdie to follow.
I'm sure that Ali Marmol, the manager of the Cardinals, wanted to make sure that he got in and get some of the Marlins starting players, and you'll see that a lot with closers. They'll bring them in the 4th inning, the 5th inning to make sure they go up against good big league hitters.
Yeah, a little bit later in camp, as you know, everybody that starts playing a little bit longer, you want to get them in more of their save situation for a guy like that. But now is a good time to deploy Helsley, who has been awesome all spring. That breakout season, we showed you the numbers a bit ago, emerged as one of the best relievers in the game of baseball, an all-star last year, and has just really transformed himself over a year. And we'll see the triple-digit fastball, but really what makes him different now is his ability to throw his breaking balls for strikes. He's got a slider that he can throw for a strike and a curveball as well.
And Ali Marmol said he'll use him in the 7th, he'll use him in the 8th, and that's what Skip Schumacher noticed about his time in St. Louis last year as a bench coach, and here's how he's going to use his bullpen this year. He brought this young man's name up.
Perhaps a sliver of revenge, although the stakes a little bit different. But from a Marlins perspective, it was one of the great moments of the Marlins season last year in St. Louis between these two teams. Sandy Alcantara was dealing, and it was the top of the 9th inning, and the Marlins were down to their last out. And Avi Garcia hit a 2-run home run off of Helsley. It gave Sandy a chance to pitch the bottom of the 9th inning. Sandy got into a little bit of trouble. Don Mattingly, the manager, came out and said, "Sandy, you okay?" Actually, I don't even think he was able to say anything.
No, Sandy,
Sandy would say, "This is mine, this is mine." Sandy rolled a double play ball, and that was all part of what ultimately was a Cy Young season. So that was, I'm sure, not fun from a Cardinals perspective. Sorry to bring that up, but it was a great moment for the Marlins and Sandy last year. And here, Helsley gets a little bit of revenge.
And from that moment on, Don Mattingly never went out with the hook when Sandy was out there.
And if he did, he made sure he motioned to the dugout or to the bullpen on the first step out of the dugout.
There's no talk about it, right? But that's what you want. You want a guy on the mound that wants to fight to be out there instead of the, "All right, Skip, thanks, I'll see you in 5 days."
Yeah, Rod, I don't know. I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure how many times you were asked about this. I was asked a lot this offseason. What was the moment you remember about Sandy's year last year? And it was that whole sequence of that 9th inning. That was the one that for me.
But what led to that was, I think a week before that, a game against the New York Metropolitans took him out of the game early, and Sandy was on the bench. And he was hitting his right hand on the bench. He was upset, and Sandy said, "I'm never coming out of another game." And about a few days later, here we go again, and he didn't come out.
Well, Helsley back at it again.
You know, I was talking to Mel Stottlemyre Jr., the pitching coach, and he was talking about Sandy, and everybody thinks that Sandy has to back off his innings this year because he threw 228 of them last year. But he said for the Marlins to get where the Marlins need to go, Sandy has to be Sandy, and they're not going to try to rein him in. They're going to let him go and do exactly as he's always done. He's an ace. He loves to pitch deep in games, and they're not going to take that away from him.
Well, Brad, remind me to trust you forever, because you said look out for Helsley. He's been good this spring, and man, he has been nails against the first 2 hitters today.
Well, this is one where when you have the answers to the test in front of you, you get a chance to see him. You know he's special, but his last 3 outings of spring, all he's done is punch out the side each time out. I mean, this
look at those thighs.
He's got a very sturdy base.
Huh? Look where you know where he's getting his power from.
That's right. He uses his lower half, and that was a key also. So a couple of years ago, his knee was really bothering him. He had cleanup surgery on his knee, and it finally allowed him to start finishing his pitches. That's where the ability to throw that breaking ball for a strike came from.
And those numbers we just showed were entering today, so add a couple more outs, a couple more strikeouts to that total. So 5 1/3 and 11 Ks for Helsley so far this spring. Birdie pops it up off of first and into the crowd foul.
Speaking of closers, real tough news out of the World Baseball Classic in Miami regarding Puerto Rican closer Edwin Diaz of the New York Mets. Looks like he's going to be lost for the season. Got hurt in a celebration.
Yeah, your heart goes out, right? I mean, we all love watching the tournament.
Yes.
The excitement of it, and for injuries happen. But as weird as it sounds to say it, I'm assuming you guys will understand what I'm saying. If the injuries happen within the confines of the game, it's okay. but it's really lousy when it happens the way that it did.
Just a swing of emotions. I mean, it was such a great moment for Puerto Rico, a huge win. They're moving on, and then it went from, you know, happiness to tears.
Birdie draws the walk. So the Mets will have a couple of different options out of their bullpen that they'll try to figure out who gets that ninth inning of those big spots. But man, we saw him a lot, obviously playing the Mets 19 times last year, and saw quite a bit of Edwin Diaz.
Too much of him.
Well said. That yeah, one of, if not the best closer in baseball last year. C.J. Hinojosa takes over as the pinch runner at first base for Birdie. Santiago Chavez takes ball one. Santiago Chavez didn't start the game, but he's had all the at-bats for the Marlins out of the 8th spot today as Nick Fortes started, but didn't even get an AB by the time his day was done.
Which was kind of odd. I know he caught that second frame where there was like, what, 50-some-odd pitches, but not to get one at bat. Didn't hear anything, though, regarding Nick Fortes. That breaking ball is just filthy. When a guy has 100 miles an hour in his back pocket, you're sitting on that piece of cheese, and then when he can throw that breaking ball at 80 to 81 miles an hour, it's a devastating pitch.
It doesn't even have to be perfectly located,
no.
To your point, because you're geared up for something else. It's hard to pull with the trigger.
Wow.
Another strikeout. They'll throw to first to complete it. 3 Ks in the inning for Helsley. 8th inning on the way in Jupiter.
It's bow time.
What's that? The bow.
Right, telecast is presented by authority of the Miami Marlins and St. Louis Cardinals, and not to be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins and St. Louis Cardinals. One of the new faces for the Marlins, a trade from mid-February or so. A.J. Puck, a 1-for-1 deal. They traded away a former first-round pick in J.J. Bleday to the Oakland A's for this big lefty out of their bullpen who Rod figures to fit in toward that back end, getting those big outs once the games count for real.
Mel Sotomayor Jr. was talking about him the other day, and he just loves his stuff. I mean, he's got impact stuff. He's got that tall frame, 6 feet 7 inches, so that wingspan is quite long. He's throwing from a different angle that right-handers and left-handers just don't pick the ball up very well. The key for him last year was the fact that he stayed healthy. He's always had wipeout stuff.
And there was some question, at least during his Oakland days, as to whether or not, you know, starter or reliever or what have you, but it sounds like the Marlins will just keep him toward the back end of games this year. Lots of good starting pitching depth for the Marlins.
He's just so long, too, in his delivery. It looks like he hands the ball to the catcher. We all know that release point is really important. If you have a guy that eats up some extra inches there, that perceived velocity, it's even more.
Marlins have a lot of cats like that in spring training. They got about 4 or 5 guys about 6 feet 8 inches.
Oh, it's a good hoops game. Yeah, a pickup game. We saw Johan Quezada in the game earlier. He's 6'9".
Ooh.
And the Marlins' top prospect, Yuri Perez, is actually going to pitch and start in the split squad game against the Mets later on tonight in Port St. Lucie. He too is a tall drink of water. So yeah, if the Heat need backups, the Marlins might have a couple of options.
And Puck has a fastball in the mid to upper 90s. He has a really good slider, and he also has a split-fingered pitch to help him get some of the right-handers out with.
Kramer Robertson getting his first at-bat of the day, takes the ball up high, and the count is full.
Well, when you think at the Marlins bullpen with Puck and Okert and Scott in the back end of that bullpen, I mean, you got 3 lefties out there that really have good stuff, good breaking balls that can really neutralize lefties. And Okert was outstanding against right-handers last year.
That one missed away. Robertson will reach to start the inning. And one of the new faces for the Marlins heading into 2023. Those career numbers. Maybe a change of scenery will do both guys pretty well. Those of us on the Marlins side of things always like J.J. Bleday, terrific young man. We wish him the best of luck in Oakland. See how that shakes out for him. May get everyday reps.
Brad, when you have a guy that's missing a way to the outside part of the plate against right-handed hitters, what adjustment does he need to make?
Yeah, a lot of times I would like to overcorrect, almost miss in off the plate and then really reset your sights.
So the catcher has to go inside?
Yeah, just say, hey, let's dig one in here, get one glove side so your arm stays up, because that's the problem. The arm drops a little bit, the ball ends up running off the plate. If you can set your sights on the other side of the plate, I think it helps open up the other. There's a good example right there. Ends up spotting a fastball in. He had to get the arm up on top of it.
And is that something that the catchers, you talk about new pitchers and part of a new staff, that the catcher has to figure out, hey, when you're off, what's the best way for you to get yourself back on track?
Yeah, it's part of the conversation. And Rod, you brought it up earlier with Contreras deciding to not go play for Venezuela in the World Baseball Classic. Those are the things that he wanted to learn about his pitchers. What makes you tick? If you're off, how do I get you back on to where you need to be? It's such an important relationship. You saw Puck here, a great adjustment, a couple of good pitches, fastball in, then stayed on top of that breaking ball.
And it seems like since I asked you that question, the arm has gotten up, fastballs over the top, breaking ball nice and sharp, throwing strikes, whereas it looked like that arm angle was down.
Yeah, it's the depth on those pitches. Sometimes it looks good with that lower arm angle. You see it's sinking away, and that one gets away from him. But that's not the action you want. You want that good downward action.
Matt Koperniak, his first at-bat today, a swing and a miss there. Came in as a pinch runner earlier. See, at that point, you see those numbers, 1 for 1 with a home run in the spring. That's when I would just shut it down.
Just hang him up?
Yeah, like what more is there to prove?
See, I got my work in. I'm pretty good here.
But maybe that's why I didn't play past varsity high school.
I'll take 500
yeah.
with the bomb. That's fine.
I was 50% from the floor at high school basketball.
Is that right?
Yeah, 1 for 2. Missed my second shot. That's why I learned my lesson.
Pad your stats when you can.
Scott Hurst. Down to the count 0-1 to A.J. Puck, runner at first base and 2 outs.
We never mentioned Chagua's name either. I mean, somebody else they acquired in the offseason that will figure in the back end of the bullpen for the Marlins. They got him from Tampa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I talked with Marlins GM Kim Ng at the beginning of spring, so a few weeks after they had made some of those deals. And I said, so from the end of the season to now, how do you feel about the bullpen? And she said, now after those moves that we just made, a lot better. A lot better.
Well, with the depth that the Marlins have in their rotation, you feel good about your chances every 5th day. You can't let those leads slip away. That was a wise investment to go out there and just add to that bullpen.
And then on top of that, the one-run games, which was the Achilles heel of the ball club last year. They brought in guys that can help them with quality at-bats, put the ball in play in pressure situations to help to win some of those one-run contests.
A called strike 3 and a good inning there for A.J. Puck.
I see you, Mr. Puck.
3 Ks. And we head to the bottom of the 8th.
This puts the surf and turf savings at the Fresh Market. Enjoy wild.
And we welcome you back. Last of the 8th inning. All Cardinals today on the strength of a 9-run second inning. They have been cruising against the Marlins today. Jordan Hicks takes over.
We saw big stuff, Paul. Last inning from Ryan Helsley. Triple-digit fastballs. This guy, he throws a lot of those and with sinking action.
Yeah, I was just about to say, what can he have in store for an encore after what Helsley did? And, you know, last half inning, we were talking about the Marlins bullpen. How about the Cardinals bullpen? How do things shake out in terms of feeling How do you feel about going into the year?
Feel very good about it. It's a competitive bullpen is what it is.
Jazz with a fly ball out to deep left center field. Goes the opposite way for a solo home run off of Hicks.
That boy's got some serious bat speed. That ball thrown by Hicks was triple digits, 100 miles an hour. And Jazz Chisholm, with his second homer of the spring, the opposite way, lit him up. This boy's got some lightning quick hands. Lightning quick.
Yeah, he had a couple of home runs on pitches that were north of 100 miles per hour. He took Jacob deGrom deep and Jose Alvarado deep, over 100 miles an hour.
That one at 102. Hicks a little upset after that big fly by Jazz Chisholm. He woke him up.
I think the key for Hicks is don't find yourself in those counts where, you know, don't fall behind. And that has been a bit of an issue for Hicks at times in his career. It's ball one, ball two, then even as good of a fastball as he has, if you can sit on it, as we were talking about earlier, it's still hittable.
That's one thing about big league hitters, man. I don't care how hard you throw. These cats can hit a bullet if it's straight. I mean, that's why they're here.
Yeah.
And as I said, and as Paul just said, Jazz, he's got lightning quick hands. I mean, that's 100 miles an hour. And the key is you don't try to pull that pitch. You can't pull it. You try to keep that ball the biggest part of the ballpark. Take your chances that way.
Well, and you know this, playing as long as you did, Rod, anything up in the zone, you can see it. Even at 100 miles an hour, you could see it.
Yeah.
If Hicks gets that sinker down at the zone, it looks like an aspirin down there.
Ooh. One more look at the Jazz home run. 100 miles an hour. Beautiful swing. And you're right, that ball was up in the zone.
You think he knew he got it?
Oh, you think?
It's an exciting player. Wow. Exciting young player.
Ian Lewis takes first base, and that'll bring up Joe Rizzo.
He's very popular, I will tell you that. Kids love Jazz Chisholm. Everywhere the Marlins go, I mean, there's a ton of kids that come to the ballpark, and they all have Jazz Chisholm jerseys on, and they all want to meet Jazz Chisholm.
He's on the cover of MLB The Show.
How about that?
I mean, that's your guy right there.
How about that?
That's cool. That's special.
Pretty good calling card right there. And he was named an All-Star last year. Unfortunately, couldn't play because of the back injury that kept him out from late June through the end of the season. This one tapped out in front of home plate. Rizzo is set down. But just watching Jazz every day, you get the sense that that won't be his only opportunity in the Midsummer Classic.
He says he has some goals this year. He says that he wants the team to go to the postseason. He wants to stay healthy, and he wants to be the MVP of the National League. Not necessarily in that order, but I put it in that order for him because that's the right order. But those are some goals that Jazz wants to accomplish this year. Ooh.
Dalby Rosario out toward right center field. Caught in the gap for the second out of the inning.
That ball was 102 out of the hand of Hicks, but a real nice swing there.
Something I really loved about Jazz Chisholm, too, is his ability and his willingness to switch positions.
Yep.
Said, all right, and look, this is best for the team. I'm in.
Yep.
That's the kind of guy I want.
Yep. He called the manager and told him that. If you do not acquire a center fielder, and then after they acquired Luis Ariz to play second base, he says, I'll gladly go out to center field.
I got you. We're better. Because it goes back to one of the goals you were talking about, be a postseason team.
This is Victor Mesa Jr. off the Marlins bench.
But when you stand next to Jazz, and I was standing next to him today, you just wonder where he gets that power from. I mean, he's about 6 feet, but he's about 165, 170, but he's got lightning quick hands and some tremendous bat speed.
Just wiry strong.
Yes. Eric Davis is kind of strong. Remember Eric Davis?
Yes.
Backhanded at second base. Lost the footing there, but able to make the play. Robertson over to first base. The inning is over. Marlins get one on the Jazz. Solo home run to the 9th inning.
For back pain, I've always
One of the great things about spring training is the access. Look at the young man in the right, in the red on the right side. As soon as he saw that Jazz was coming over to sign some autographs.
Kids love him, man. How about this? They just love Jazz Chisholm. How could you not, though?
That's right. I'm fairly certain we wouldn't have, but we could have left road trips without Jazz with us a few times because he was doing this after game. Hey, busting an hour. Jazz is out there signing
That's
autographs.
what you want. That's what you want to build around as an organization, having a guy like that.
Well, they talk about getting more kids in the game. That's how you get kids in the game. You get an autograph from Jazz Chisholm the day after hitting a home run. You go home talking about that.
Eli Villalobos into the game for the Marlins, gives up the base hit.
And meanwhile, these Cardinals is still up there slashing.
You know how these at-bats are. It might feel like, for a lot of people, a meaningless game late, 16-2. Not for some of these guys.
Not them youngsters.
Yeah, this is a chance to make an impression.
Yes, indeed.
Karakuto at the plate now.
Karakuto's a guy that we've seen bounce around the infield so far in camp. Takes good at-bats from both sides of the plate. Got a cup of coffee in the big leagues a couple of years ago. Looking to scrape his way back.
How many jobs are up for grabs with the Cardinals?
Really, I mean, you look at it right now, the bullpen, we talk about how competitive that group is. It's going to be tough to whittle down the right-handers especially. There's 4 or 5 lefties battling it out for, you would think, 2 spots. But really, as far as like the roster goes, it's almost, I would think, almost set, except for maybe the backup catcher position unless something crazy happens in the outfield.
To shortstop, there's one on to first for the double play.
Now, the big question really is, does the young Jordan Walker make the club? I mean, that's what changes it for others. And when you look at the numbers, you watch him play, it's hard to see if he doesn't. But that's the interesting part about the World Baseball Classic, too. With Tyler O'Neill being gone and Nootbaar being gone, you really haven't had a chance to see what they believed was going to be their starting outfield from left to right all together here. But a good problem to have is too many good players.
Yeah, depth. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on the field before, Rod. You know, we were batting this around with someone and we're talking about, yeah, everybody starts with that 26-man roster, but you don't win and play a full season with a 26-man roster.
No.
It's the 40.
Yes.
You need that depth.
Yeah, you're going to need at least 8 or 9 starting pitchers during the course of the year, and that's in a good year where most guys stay healthy.
Yeah. And that's something really the Cardinals have had forever. There always seems to be that next man up somewhere along the line. Luke and Baker held up.
That's something, too, that the Cardinals here over recent years, they've kind of shifted their draft strategy a little bit because, to your point, they've always had a guy that is ready and very serviceable big leaguers, but they were kind of devoid of that high-end position player talent. Well, that's where you see it shifted to Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn. Like, they went out there and took some chances, and those chances are paying off.
Yes, they are.
Ollie Marmol got the Cardinals to first place in the National League Central, first time in a couple of years last year.
A lot of the experts have the Cardinals winning the Central again this year.
I think you look at it in the Central, the Cubs definitely got better on paper. I don't know if they're ready to make that jump, though, to compete for the division. You know how dangerous that the Brewers pitching staff is. Nobody wants to run into those arms they have there. Will they be able to get the offense going? But I think that we'll see that kind of be in the race, the Brewers, the Cardinals down the stretch. And then what clicks in? What clicks in for the Birds? What gets them over the hump? What are these young guys doing? The expectation's incredibly high for this team. When you have Goldie and Arenado, who were number 1 and 3 in the MVP voting, you got to feel good about your chances.
Mm-hmm.
Ball and 2 strikes to Luke and Baker. Maybe a silly question, meant to be a little silly, but coming over from the Cubs, Wilson Contreras is going to be accepted, right? Now that shouldn't be much of an issue.
Going to be beloved.
Okay, good. Just checking.
He made the choice.
Yeah, that's true. To third, Ian Lewis High throw. Rizzo comes down with it, and the inning is over.
You can't miss that big old bag over there.
Bottom of the ninth coming up. Welcome back. Last of the ninth inning on the way. 16-2 Cardinals on top. Grapefruit League action today. Once again, Paul Severino, Rod Allen representing Bally Sports Florida. Brad Thompson representing Bally Sports Midwest. I'd like to do this a few times throughout the course of spring. We'll do it again Wednesday. Chip Carey will have the call along with Rod Allen and Jim Edmonds. Chris Stratton to take over. 60 games last season. Face Khalil Watson to lead things off. All in all, a pretty good day for the St. Louis Cardinals. A good start from Steven Matz. 9-run second inning, but a pretty consistent effort throughout. Just looking at the scoreboard, held scoreless in the first, the fourth, the eighth, and the ninth. So some crooked numbers up there.
Lots of crooked numbers.
Yeah, the 17 hits put up. To me, the impressive part is, I mean, a lot of Marlins pitchers today were around the strike zone, not in it as much. 8 free passes so far on the day. To still be ready to pull the trigger when that one comes, I mean, that's a good approach.
I brought that up at the beginning of the game. They looked like a lot of the guys, like they were in mid-season form. You know, the at-bats they had against today's starter, Trevor Rogers.
Khalil Watson down looking for the first out.
Good start by Stratton. This is his 7th game so far. Chris Stratton came over from the Pirates last year in a deal that brought over Quintana as well. Deal that was very big for the Cardinals. They needed some starting pitchers. They bring in Jose Quintana. They bring in Jordan Montgomery as well. Excited to see a full year of Montgomery.
Montgomery came from the Yankees, right?
Sure did, for Harrison Bader.
And pitched well for you
guys. Yes, he did. And another one of the big question marks when you're looking at the Cardinals, when you're talking about the future, is you got 4 of your 5 starters that are free agents after the year. So what does that look like? Are there certain guys that the Cardinals maybe retain, signed to contract extensions? But Montgomery was a really nice pickup and a much needed one. And Harrison Bader, we know, went on in the postseason to tear it up. He's a star out there in the Bronx.
You love seeing those deals that both teams benefit from. This one into no man's land, except Robertson is going to be out there to make a catch.
I read something where Bader is injured again, but he got hurt quite often with Cardinals too, the way he plays the game, right?
He does. Reckless abandon, right? Harrison Bader's the guy that you want on your team. He's got big time energy. He'll go get any baseball for you, but at times that will bang you up a little bit.
Like Byron Buxton of the Minnesota Twins.
He's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Can't take it out of those guys. You don't want to either.
Right. And oblique strain for Bader. And I've often heard coaches, managers, whatever, say it's easier to tell a guy to calm down a little than it is to say, hey, find it in you to get up. C.J. Hinojosa, a swing and a miss there. And the Marlins are down to their final strike today.
Nice fastball there at 93, out of the hand of Stratton. Had a lot of late life on it.
Pop back behind second. And Robertson makes the catch. All Cardinals today as they take care of the Marlins. A win for St. Louis. 16-2 final score here. Marlins have a split squad, so they will move some of their coaching staff and perhaps some players up to Port St. Lucie. Get a look at Yuri Perez, who will get to start their top pitching prospect. But today, all Cardinals in Jupiter. We'll step aside, come back, wrap it up right after this.